for me, James, like what he's been showing is crazy. Like, and the way he plays with like literally no mistakes is something that is insane to see. But obviously, like we should make a top 5 to make it more like.
All right, here we go. Give us your top 5.
Add some fun to your space with Xtrfy, designed in Sweden with focus on quality products built on experience. You're looking at Project 4, their 4th generation of products with super cool colorways to stand out, with matching sets to satisfy with a solid B4 bungee, lightweight ergonomic M4 mouse, the K4 keyboard is fantastic, all of which are performance focused, and finish it off with colorful GP4 mouse mats that are bold in design and smooth on the surface. The retro theme in particular has got the feels. Complete your setup with Xtrfy. No regrets, guaranteed.
Finally, I found what I was looking for. Now that my search is over, it's gonna be a tough choice. But fortunately, no need to choose. When you can just have them all. Buy and sell skins on Bitskins.com.
Bet. Your bet, your game.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another episode of HLTV Confirmed. Shout out to our sponsors, Xtrfy, Bitskins, and of course, N1Bet for their continued support of the show. I remember to gamble responsibly. As usual, well, maybe not usual, as more often than not, we have Lucas in the driver's seat for tonight producing the show. Say hello, Lucas.
Bonjour.
There you go. He's trying to be French. That's alluding to our guest who you can all see on our screens. We'll get to him in a moment because first and, foremost, right? Maybe not more importantly, but before we... Actually, Lucas was first. So secondly, Striker, you're second here. But you're also alongside for the ride. Where on earth, because this is the question people are going to be asking, where's Prof?
I don't know. He said something about hiding a body.
Okay. We'll come back to that later in the show. But yes, Kenny fucking S in the building. And that's the French that we were talking about. First things first, Kenny. The AWP update. How you feeling, mate?
I'm feeling good. I mean, that update once again is makes sense to me. You want me to develop my point, or?
Oh, look, we can get into that. I wanted to look for people, right? Maybe we have some uninitiated here, but we have one of the best to ever wield the big green, and in his time playing Counter-Strike at the top level, they've nerfed the AWP on you twice, mate. Twice, and now you're doing this comeback tour, and they take away 5 fucking bullets. What do you really think about it? How do you feel about it?
First of all, this time is a coincidence, which is a funny one. Not gonna lie, but I don't know. I think like it makes sense considering the AWP was literally the only weapon that you don't reload in the game with the 10 bullets. So in my opinion, it makes sense that during a round you shoot bullets and you get a reload at some point. So I think it makes sense.
Okay.
Because we're gonna shoot less bullets, right?
What an unbiased opinion. That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
How much of an impact do you think it's going to have, right? Because obviously we haven't seen a whole lot of it here unless people are watching the online tournaments and stuff. Do you think this is going to have a massive impact? Do you think it's a pretty mild impact? Like, what's your take on it so far playing with it?
No, just I think we're gonna with less, especially myself.
Okay.
But no, I think you just need to reload your AWP much more often. Like if you shoot 1 bullet or 2 bullets during the run, you just think about reloading, which is not something natural for an AWPer in the first place, you know. No, I don't have the feeling that it's gonna change a big thing, honestly. Maybe in a clutch situation, in a 1v3, if you have 3 or 4 bullets left, it might make a difference at some point. You might pull out your guns much more often as well. But so far from the experience I've been having with that new update, I didn't notice a really big difference.
Okay. All right, nice. Well, we're going to get stuck into the hot seat here, but before we get there, just want to give everybody a quick little taster of what we're going to be talking about on tonight's show, discussing Blast Premier World Finals coming up very shortly. The HUNDEN Diaries continued. Can't wait to get into that one. Striker, the #1 OG hater in the world, has taken away that mantle from me. Cloud9's options. And as mentioned, we'll put Kenny in the hot seat. So, Lucas, let's get down to business. Roll the bumper. All right, Kenny, this is actually your celebration. You've gotten out of contract jail. The confetti's coming out. You can't believe it. Carlos, he had you locked in a cell for a year and a half over there at G2. And now you're free. You're frolicking. We know where you've ended up. We know where the Falcon has landed. Ha ha. See that one? Not even pre-prepared. But mate, you got a taste of this contract jail that a lot of players, I think, in the modern era have been feeling. You sign these contracts, you can't get sold. You don't get sold. Maybe you don't want to be sold. How was that for? I just saw them they were doing some content with you. It looks like G2 were keeping you working.
Yeah, yeah, they did. But first of all, well, it's kind of a gel maybe, but I mean, we agreed on a lot of conditions, and everything went pretty smooth between them and I at this point. Um, the only thing that bothered me at some point is that they re-signed me before benching me, which makes sense business wise. It's really smart of them, but obviously I was not aware. So after like 1 week or 2 weeks after signing my new contract, I got benched.
Whoa.
Maybe the new contract was too beautiful to be real. But yeah, I mean, at some point, like the COVID season really hurted me. My performances started being like really awful. I mean, the last tournaments I've played offline was one of my best tournament again. Like I've performed pretty well offline in general, even in my career, because I really love the atmosphere of offline events. And the COVID was really impacting my confidence and my motivation a lot. So after getting benched, I was actually pretty happy. Pretty much like I've needed that mental break, if that makes sense. But yeah, at some point, 18 months of being on the bench was a little bit too much. I've tried to do a lot of things. Including the V word. And unfortunately, I'm not only a player that have good performances the first place, right? I'm also a player with followers and a kind of a brand. So the price, even after a year, was still really, really high. A price that myself as a businessman would not want to pay for a player that is 27 years old and that is showing a bad last year of competition, honestly. So so yeah, that was difficult at some point because I ended up being like my ass between two chairs, like not knowing really what I wanted to do. If I wanted to focus on content creator, which didn't feel really natural to me because I always have the feeling that I've had unfinished business with my career. And in the other end, I was not willing and ready to go back to competition, and not also willing to understand what needed to be done, and in order to eventually succeed in a comeback. So that was a much needed time for me. So really nice time. Enjoyed it. Took the time to do something else. Took the time to get my head clear as well. But yeah, at some point there were some like unfair situations for me. But once again, it's not like I'm gonna complain about it. But obviously, like coming back now, I can feel that not playing competitively for 2 years has been quite impactful.
Yeah, because one of the things here, and this is the maybe for those who are a bit more uninitiated that haven't been watching Counter Strike for the decade long we've had CS:GO out. You've been doing this before CS:GO. Obviously, you were a fantastic Source player, but you were very young then. You're only 27 now. You mentioned your age, and you're a major winner back in, was it 2015?
Yep.
Right,
Yep.
that was DreamHack Cluj-Napoca. You've achieved an awful lot, and you mentioned that brand that you have. You're one of the most popular Counter Strike players ever, right? Because of, well, not only you as a person, but the extension of that, which is how you play in the server. And it's always been exciting Counter-Strike, and that's why people have liked to tune in. But you've definitely had your ups and downs across the course of this career. Now, Striker, there was an awful lot to unpack there from what Kenny was talking about, right? We hit on a couple of different points. Is there any direction you want to steer this?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you had a couple of those interviews where you kind of talked about your motivation and just like your career in general and your approach to Counter Strike. I'm just curious about what's changed in those 18 months. Obviously, you have a lot. That's the by far the longest you've had. Like to think about your career, what you want to do, how motivated you are, what's like how what Counter Strike means to you. So, how did that change your mindset in that aspect?
For quite a while, as I mentioned, like when I got benched, I was super happy. Like I was like, oh, what a relief. But after a long time, like as I mentioned, I've needed that mental break because exhausting a Counter Strike player life can be, not even like considering the pressure that is on our shoulders and mostly the one we put on ourselves. But it took me a long time. Actually, it took me like many streams and gaming on. And raging on Face It and Valorant and all of that. And I think I realized that I missed CS when I went to the major in Antwerp. But then I was like, okay, I miss CS. I feel bad being here and watching what I'm seeing. But I need to be careful with the fact that it's maybe an emotional feeling that I have. I'm at an event, it's great. I love the stage, I live for the stage. So I need to be careful and wait a bit longer. And throughout the time, that envy stayed, and I also built myself with a really healthy and reassuring surrounding in my life as well. Find the right people and that kind of things, which really helps on the mental aspect as well. Um, and suddenly I started feeling really really bad about being benched, which is surprising because at first I was really happy and for quite a while because being a streamer also means that I'm my own boss, so I do whatever I want and whenever I want. So that was a pretty good time, needed once again. But yeah, like I would say 6 7 months ago, I realized that what I really wanted to do was to come back and deal with that unfinished business, which was my career. But as I mentioned again earlier, um, I had my house between two chairs for so long, like not knowing what I wanted to do, and that is nothing more like hurtful and harmful for yourself and your career and whatever you want to do than not knowing what to do and not committing to anything.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think that part of what I was mentioning before about how we've kind of seen you on the screen for this long over a 10-year period, like this is the thing that I think gets forgotten about is while there's so much laser focus on one part of your life, which tends to happen with something which is a high level pursuit, right? You obsess over it, you pour everything into it. Other parts of your life get neglected, and then by the time that those things have either blown up or they've completely depleted because they've been neglected, then you have to start dealing with them, right? And I'm sure that you saying you're getting everything in the right place, having a good support network around you and stuff, and now you can focus back on doing the things that you love doing. You've kind of taken care of business outside of that, and you can get back in the server now. We mentioned the age a couple times. Are you worried, right, that 27? Do you think you're over the hump? Do you think there's a lot left in the tank still? Device has just come back. He's had a lengthy break as well. He's the same age, right? Device is 27 as well. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so.
I think so. Do you think that age is a factor, or do you think, Kenny, now that you've had some time away, right, with all these different options, juggling things, watching the Counter Strike, being able to appreciate the Counter Strike in the modern era, do you think coming back into it, looking at the game with like a fresh set of eyes in a way, you've still got a lot to offer here on the AWP?
Well, I don't think age is a thing. Once again, look at Device. But Device and I had a really different
Styles of
like
offers for sure. Yeah.
personalities and AWPers in general, and also he left the game by still being like the Device we know, like
Sure.
the guy that is performing well. So he doesn't necessarily have the same challenge that I do, even though it's still a challenge for him. For myself, I'm aware that is probably the biggest challenge of my career and in my life so far. I'm also aware that I need to do much more than anyone else. I'm also aware that I'm not going to succeed the same way that I succeeded the first time in my career. Um, I mean, I definitely have a lot of things to catch up because I haven't been been competitive for 2 years, and once again I've been like, sometimes I want to play, I play, I don't want to play, I don't play, like, so consistency has not been a thing either. Now what I feel like is that I need a lot of theory, which has never been my strength before. I need to not to change my game style, because my DNA is my DNA, it is what it is, but I need to adapt my game style. And I'm fully aware of my weaknesses. Like, I know what I need to improve, and that is a good thing. Like, if I know what I need to improve, it means that I'm really invested in what I'm doing. Which is not something that was necessarily the case before. Um, so so yeah, no, it's just a lot of work. I spend a lot of time on the PC, and I'm trying to really catch up on my weaknesses. And build a different stuff from what I built. Like my ambitions also is I'm really lucid and clear about myself. Like, I'm no longer the best operator in the world or whatever. And I'm really far from that. And the point is not to be the best and stuff. The challenge is really mental. Like, every games I play, everyone will be watching my games and wait for the every single whiff I do to
Mm.
point it out and say, "Oh, he's too old, he's washed up," all that kind of thing. So I need to get prepared for that as well. Um, I mostly need to get prepared for myself and be able to deal with the fact that, yeah, I'm gonna suck for a while, and it is what it is. And that's really tough for me, because I'm always used to top performances myself as well. But accepting those things is the first step to success, in my opinion. So yeah, I'm gonna keep doing 10 to 11 hours a day on CS, and I'm gonna miss as much as I'm gonna miss. And at some point, like, um, there is a long process of confidence building that I'm going through. Like, you cannot expect me to be not playing for 2 years and being benched from a team at a point where I was really low in confidence, and coming back and be full confident and just drop 150 rating every single game.
Oh,
That's not possible. Even though I'm playing at like tier 2 or tier 3, this is still a level that those guys are better than me. It is what it is. They are better than me. But I believe in myself, and the people around me believe in myself, which is the most important. Um, so yeah, I just need to get rid of the negative pressure, or just accept everything that is around myself, and I think that's the first step into to succeeding.
It seems like you've had an awful lot of introspection here, Kenny. Like a lot of thinking, a lot of time to sit and think of where you want it to be. Because I think something that is, I wouldn't say plagued you throughout your career, but because it has been so lengthy, there have been periods in the past as well where maybe that motivation hasn't been on point for you, right? You hit different levels in the game, you win some tournaments, you're with a good team, but it hasn't always been there. Right now, like everything you're saying here, it feels like you've really just sat and had a long time to think about all of these things. So the break sounds like it's done you some good in terms of that mental clarity you're talking about there. So maybe it was nice to be left hanging in the G2 situation, or would you have preferred to have been out of that contract earlier? So you were you ready sooner than
Mm,
this?
I don't think. I think it's the right time. Honestly, I think the right time. Maybe I would have had that same introspection 6 months ago. So maybe 6 months ago, yes, but not before 6 months ago. I think I could not have had that time or that introspection to myself. And like, the bench is not a bad thing at the end, because I would have kept thinking, like, motivation would not have gone higher anyway,
Hmm.
in my opinion. Staying in G2, or maybe changing a team, like, always like give a motivation boost at some point. But at the point of where I was with G2, I could have stayed for an extra year. It would have been the same thing. So yeah, but I mean, in general, I'm a really, like, I have a really big ego. That's is no surprise. Um, so I guess that when you have such a big ego, you need to like, realizing stuff takes a bit of time sometimes. Like some slap in the head, or stuff. At first I didn't, as I mentioned, I didn't take like the bench as a slap in my head, just like as a relief, you know.
Mm.
But it came afterwards, you know, like, and that is the first, and yeah, like I definitely know what I need to do in order to succeed. Doesn't mean I'm gonna succeed, because it's a really big challenge in a really short time, because the plan is to qualify for the Paris Major. Um, it's a bold one, you know, but
I mean,
if I
Falcons were close last
eh,
time.
yeah, that's true. That is true. That is true. But if I keep my effort, I might be ready to have a pretty good level at that time already, you know. Um, so yeah.
Was
Yeah.
this always where you're gonna end up, or did you have any other options, you know, on the market? Obviously, this is a return to the French scene. You were pretty much in an international team for the first time in a long, like, well, pretty much ever at the end of G2. So, were there any other options?
After G2?
Yeah.
Yeah, Falcons tried to buy me first time, but the price was crazy,
Uh-huh.
crazy. Vitality, Valorant tried to buy me at some point. Um,
Was
I
that
had,
something you'd actually consider?
I did no, I said no first straight away, and then the Vitality boss called me. He called me, right, and he really like convinced me to try out. At that time, you know, like I started grinding Valorant, and I became really good at it, you know, like super good at it, and I stopped. Went back on CS, and enjoy it again, you know, like changing sometimes was really good for me. And stopped literally playing Valorant for like about 5 months, you know. And he called me, and I'm telling him, bro, I haven't played the game for like 5 months. What do you expect? You know, he said, no, it's okay, come. And I know that if I play Valorant, I will be the best in France, you know, like I will be. Yeah, it is what it is, you know.
That wasn't um fuck, I'm missing words. But wasn't that
Enticing to
interesting? Yeah,
yeah.
enticing. There you go. That's the word I was looking
If
for.
you could be the best in that game in your country, right, and you could go and achieve things it'd be like a multi game, right? Was that something that like lured you in? You're like, oh shit, like I could go fuck people up.
That was the thing. I was like, oh, maybe I can win a major trophy on the second game. You know, like there is some cool in that. You know, I liked Valorant at first, but I got bored of it really quickly. You know, I found the game really easy as well, and stuff. But when I when I accepted to play for Vitality, I actually practiced 2 days with them. So that was my first tier 1 experience in Valorant, you know. And I was doing I was doing awful, you know, the first day, except with AWPing, because that's the only weapon that I master, even if I don't practice. And then you get me into this Vandal stuff and stuff, and I don't know to spray with them anymore. I forgot. And one day after the first day, they told me, "Yo, we think that is not mechanically good enough," which is something that I literally like. I have a lot of flaws, but I've never had like people telling me stuff about my mechanics, you know.
Sure.
And the second day, I was like, okay, okay, then I suck. But the second day, I was really like egoistic reaction, you know, and did this much better day, you know. But the players still didn't want me. And the owner of Vitaichi would apologize, because he was really like, yeah, I'm sorry, I brought you there, but it's not gonna happen and stuff. So I didn't really care. Uh, and then I was like, okay, but I want to play the French league because I want to kick Vitality ass. So I reached out to OG that actually wanted me to play for them.
Okay.
So OG was really hyped, because I actually did practice with them at some point on Valorant, and it was at the time where I was playing the game, so the practice went really differently. You know, like I was like really good at it and stuff, and so there was a story where like G2 and OG agreed on a loan, so I could have played the Valorant French League, so I could actually play against Vitality and kick their ass, which was my goal. But Riot didn't accept it due to contract stuff. because G2 was in VCT and whatever. But at the end of the day, after a few weeks, I was really happy it didn't happen. I think it would have been a big mistake anyway. But yeah, those are the things I went through in order to realize that I am where I want to be now.
Interesting. A bit of like well, it's not backhanded. A bit of unspoken Valorant slander in there as well. You know, we always love a bit of that. Look, what do you think? Actually, I don't want to. Let's stay away from that. We'll stay away from that.
I was going to ask
completely.
if you're always going to return to a French team then, because obviously, you know, you had the international taste.
Oh yeah, that was the goal. I mean, that Falcon opportunity was literally the best one and the best timing possible. Honestly, if it was not for Falcon, it could have been for K-Corp at some point since I talked to them, but most likely they were not super sure about coming to CS. I also spoke to Sharks, but the point was always when I decided to come back was to come back, and I mean I wanted to play CS in the first place, so I would not have been too greedy regarding opportunities, you know. But the French lineup was the best option in my opinion. Yeah.
Okay. Well, speaking of the French lineup, should we get into that, Striker?
Yeah,
you think?
let's go.
Okay, so you found yourself on Falcons. You're over there. You've got MBK. You've got Python in the mix over there. You've got Hadji, and who am I forgetting? Who am I fucking?
Python.
Yeah, Masuda. I didn't say Masuda. That's probably the one that I probably should have said. Yeah, he's probably one of the more important pieces of that puzzle over there. But you're back. MBK and kennyS reunited in 2022. It sounds like a fever dream, mate. Look, you've got you boys. You've got heat going on. There's definitely some good French players floating around in the mix here. But you've ended up over with MBK and co. Now this one, I guess, made the most sense. Heat have Afro. He looks pretty good on the AWP. He looks good, yeah. He's definitely no slouch. So this team that you have, I think the one that I found the most interesting was Kyojin who went out, right? Kyojin went out when you came in. And
that was Maka.
It was Maka who went out. Kyojin went out before, right?
Mizuta took Kyojin's spot.
Okay, that makes more sense then. So sucks for Maka, poor lad. But you're in this team now. When I was having a look, you haven't played an awful lot of matches just yet. I think it's still about under 20 maps. So it hasn't been an awful lot of games just yet. But is it like starting fresh, or is it like, okay, well, we're like, because you've got Nathan there, is it already a step ahead? You're still doing stuff that you used to do back in the day. Like what's the workflow like? Because I think about this, you guys have all kind of gone out and you've had your different learnings. You've played with different in-game leaders. You've had all that. You've played with different teams, and now you're back in French Counter-Strike. Is there a lot of stuff that you've learnt externally that you're bringing back, or you're still doing it in the French way?
What is the French way? No, I mean, you know, like
getting drunk in the lobby of ESWCs and changing rosters, right? Like, isn't that how it used to go?
No, that's not, that is not what I was doing.
That's a long time ago, Kenny.
I've never been into those things. You know, I've never been into like, even when I was the player in France that had always the same spot. You know. I've never like used that power to kick people out and take other people in and build lineups and stuff. I just let people do those things. But yeah, regarding the team, it's like it's based on the players we have, you know, and the identity we have. We like there were some teams that cannot play like Xtrfy back in the days. There were some teams that cannot play like NAVI right now. The teams have like different identities, you know. So the first point was to find the identity and the way the team will perform the best with the strategy in place, you know. At first, we tried to give a lot of freedom to everyone and let them take some leads, but you know, like some players are with inexperience as well, so it might be harder to do those things with inexperienced players, you know, because micromanagement is a difficult thing to do, especially for a player like me that is already needs to focus on myself and like going on in the game. I realized that, for example, a map like Inferno, I have is one of the map I perform the best right now because I literally have nothing to think about because everything seems so natural to me because I've played the map forever, and even though like there was one or two things that changed a little bit, it kind of stayed the same at some point, you know. But like if you throw me on Vertigo, on Ancient, on Overpass, maps that I haven't played for a long time or that I barely played in professional, you know, like, well, it's becoming much harder for me to just like deal with thinking about the strategy, thinking about even like the position name, thinking about the movement, thinking about the timings, thinking about the reactions and all of those things, you know. So that's my job right now. My job right now is to do a lot of theory, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of theory in order to feel naturally comfortable in every maps, which would literally make my game much smoother. Um, and regarding the game style and the way we've been playing, I don't know. I mean, it's the first time I have NBK as any game leader. He's had Dexter, AWPer, um, and maybe and some other game leader that I forget the name, but a lot of experience with those guys. Um, so yeah, I'm not gonna tell you a lot of literally the way we're playing, but it's really easy to see that we're trying to be a little bit more structured than the beginning of the team when I joined, because of the reason I mentioned, the fact that we need we cannot really have people talking through the rounds because the confidence is for now pretty low, even though it's getting better and better because our results are going better and better as well. But at the beginning was awful. We're, we are awful as a team. We are awful as players. But once again, it's a process we need to go through, and I would rather go to that process now than in 3 months, for example. So yeah, that has been a lot of change in the way we are approaching the game, but the mindset is great, and I just think that we need a little bit more time in order to find out our identity, you know.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Look, Striker, do you want to go any? Because there was something that Kenny said before that I wanted to get an answer to
Then
here.
just go into that, and
Okay.
I'll hit up after.
So I'll try and morph this into the theory side of things. Before, Kenny, when you were talking about like everything you're thinking about and your mindset now and everything like that, you said I'm not the best AWPer, right? I can't think of myself as the best AWPer. Who do you think right now is the best AWPer?
Where in the world?
Yeah.
Wolf. Okay. Well, James.
Okay. Not a bad answer at all.
I mean, it's totally not my game style, not totally the most enjoyable AWPer to watch. But like, I've talked to Yekinda. I'm like Yekinda and I got along really well in Antwerp, and he told me like Yekinda is a smart player, and you can see that. And he told me when I joined VP, it took me 3 months to understand how James wanted the game to be.
Okay.
And then he told me he's a mastermind, you know. And I have a huge respect for AWPers that can in-game leader. You know, like as an AWPer, I take a lot of space, obviously, in the communication stuff. But being an in-game leader is something totally different. So I've always had a lot of respect for Fallen, for example. But like for me, James, like what he's been showing is crazy. Like, and the way he plays with like literally no mistakes is something that is insane to see. But obviously, like we should we should make a top 5 to make it more like.
All right. Here we
Like,
go. Give us your
go
top
for it.
5.
You gotta have Simple.
Yeah.
You gotta have Shiro. You gotta have James. You gotta have Zaiwu, and you gotta have Brokey, in my opinion. And
Okay.
even though like Kajan is just outside of it, but Kajan also deserves a spot in there. Honestly,
Who?
Hey,
I
Kajan.
missed that.
Cajun.
Oh. Cajun.
Cajun.
It's like a Brazilian say the same way.
Are you taking a piece on my French accent right now?
No. I thought it was like Cajun B. You know, he's back in the turf. I
Cajun
thought-
B. No, Cajun. Cajun.
What about I don't know. I don't want to just go like, what about this AWPer? What about that AWPer? Who's the most exciting AWPer to watch?
Searson is cool to watch.
Okay.
Well, you outside of Zaiwu and Simple, obviously. But there is one. Monesi, obviously. Monesi. I love Monesi.
Yeah,
That's
Speak
your
like me.
your style of
Speak like
AWPer,
me.
yeah.
Of course, I love Monesi. Speaking like me.
flicking around a lot, trying to hit everything that moves.
And
They called
Monesi
him
would
Russian
be.
kennyS for a while.
And Monesi would be really good. Would be really good. He's starting to be really good, but Monesi obviously.
Okay. All right. That's cool. So I guess the reason I asked this is because you're saying you're doing a lot of theory. So I imagine it's hard for you just to watch Jame demos because
Oh,
you don't play anything like Jame. So
I take his setup. The setups are fine,
okay.
but like watching him, I'm like, when I'm watching a sniper playing, I'm not like I'm gonna play exactly like him, you know.
Sure.
But for example, there is multiple steps in a round for an AWPer. You know, there is the first step where you being a bit aggressive and try to get a pick. There is a second step where you punishing people, or there is the step where you actually retaking information with your AWP as well. You know, and there is the first step, and the first step is the one that I learned the most is from like players like Shiro or James. You know, the ones that where they are like really like passive on the side, for example. So their reaction, the angle they're holding, and the way the teammate reacts is the most interesting part. If I'm watching simple or that kind of players, it's mostly like the first and second part that interests me the most. You know, even though the second part is really interesting for an open like James or Shiro. You know.
Okay, that's interesting. I like the use of the word formations there as well. I might have to start bringing that into my commentary, mate. Talking about it's good. That's a good way to describe. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Where are we at here in this? We were talking a bit about the Falcons. Now you said you guys need some more time. I think we all understand that. But is there anybody in the team that we, as a Counter-Strike community, haven't seen what they really have to offer yet? Like Masuda was meant to be, well, wasn't meant to be. He was brought in as this up and coming talent. Then towards the end of his time, we started to see more and more and more. Is he just like a monster in prac? What about this Python kid? Right? Is there anybody in the team that we should be keeping our eyes on here as you guys do eventually progress and hopefully hit that goal of which we mentioned before, being the Blast Major in Paris?
Yeah. Well, I think they all have their like Python. Starting with Python is like a really easy teammate to be with. Like in the game, it's really comfortable to play with him. Really, really easy to play with him. He's a smart player. He's the one that makes. He doesn't. I mean, he makes mistakes like everyone, obviously, but he seems to be the one that is the most like stable at some point. You know, and it's really fun and cool to play with him on the side, for example. Um, he likes a bit of confidence. I think everyone pretty much lack of confidence, but that is pretty much normal. You know, like you gotta build a confidence as a team, and then pretty much everything follows. Mizuta is a lot of firepower, but I see also Aji has a lot of firepower. I think Aji is sometimes lacking of reactivity at some point, but he's a lurker, you know. So it's really hard to find a balance between going or not to go or not to go. You know, when to go and when
Sure.
to not go. For example, if you put me as a lurker, I will probably go too fast. Sometimes he goes too slow.
We've all had that problem before, Kenny.
Yeah, but he's really amazing at clutching, for example, and his aim is really on point. So in terms of firepower, I think we have an excellent team. Excellent team. I need myself to be consistently good, so we have really strong city side, for example, and then I think in terms of firepower, we have everything we need. Um, and Mizuta is sometimes moving a little bit too much. And forget a bit about his own environment, you know. But I kind of see it as a lack of experience, even though he's played in Tier 1, you know. He's played in Tier 1 in a really specific role as well. The role he's having in Falcon is really different. We count on him to do much more things, so he has much more like push on his shoulders. So I think once again, it's about finding balance, but they are all really talented and they all have a great mindset, honestly. And yeah, they're really pleasant to play with.
Yeah. So
Okay.
one person we haven't really touched on is NBK, right?
He's
Because
perfect. He's perfect.
Perfect.
He's
Nathan
perfect.
is perfect.
really,
No, I've been buying a lot of nades in the pistol round, so I'm just gonna say he's perfect right now. So I buy a little bit less. No, but honestly, I've always like I've never had issue with anyone like throughout my career with teammates and stuff. Like you know, like you always hear like, this guy's in a beef with this guy and stuff. Yeah, I'm in a beef with no one, you know. And I've always like enjoyed playing with NBK. First of all, because he's one of the few people and players that's like have a really like I feel the respect, you know, like I feel that we have a respect between each other. We get along in life also, but we have like big respect to each other, and I respect the fact that he's been grinding so much. He's been grinding so much, and a lot of people have been saying like, yeah, NBK is a batting game leader. NBK will be a batting game leader. People that have no clue, obviously, and that don't know what it is to have NBK as a game leader, obviously. But I don't see him as a batting game leader for the only reason that he's able to question himself and the way he's doing the job. And he doesn't have any issue like spending 3-4 hours for the next day to prepare for the next day, you know. So for me, that's the first sign of a good game leader. And I think we all agreed in the team to say that we lack of confidence, obviously, and we all have to do our own job, you know, and be have some autonomy. But I think we kind of everyone feel comfortable with our roles and what we have to do in the game, which is not given to every teams as well, you know.
We there's one thing we didn't talk about here, and I know MBK was it did seem like the elephant in the room, Striker, but we're really forgetting about the French fucking legend himself, Oz Striker.
Yeah.
How can I not bring up Oz Striker, mate? This guy, he used to, so everyone's probably heard this lore before. I'll fucking tell the lore
He's
again.
50 years old since 50 years old. It's crazy.
He's according to HLTV, he's 44 years young now. But the age is not the age is not what I was bringing up here. It's more the fact that I remember he used to play French 1.6 with a guy who used to called Ferg. And Ferg is half French, half Australian. He's from Western Australia, where I'm from. And Ferg came back to Australia at some point after playing in France. And I used to watch like his movies, being in teams with Oz Striker and stuff like. So anyway, you've got Oz Striker, who has probably more experience than half the team put together, really, just considering how long he's been doing it. Is there any words that you can offer us about this gentleman and the way that he does his job? Because the coaching, Kenny,
Yeah.
we never get to learn anything about it. So I'd love to hear some
And
tidbits.
I have had a lot of coaches.
Yeah, true.
What I like the most about him is, despite the fact that he has a lot of experience, he doesn't behave or act like he's someone else or did something he never done, you know. And what I like the most and what I think is the most valuable for me as a player is that I can fully trust him. I can fully trust him. I can tell him, you know what? I've came into practice and before practice and told him, you know, like. And it's super good for me because I really consistently need to question myself in order to succeed what I need to do right now. So I told him, you know, like yesterday I felt not really focused. I took my phone during rounds and stuff, and that annoys me. You know, I know it's not a good thing to do, and I'm able to tell him that because I know he's not going to judge me. And what I like the most about him is that he's here to help his players, like building their confidence. You know, he's taking players by players and treat them the way they should be treated. You know, like you cannot treat a player like you treat this one. You know, like people are different. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And he is obviously invested into the tactical part of the game. But once again, he also have a lot of trust in us to build the game we want to build. You know, he trusts NBK to bring what he needs to bring, and he also trusts his players to bring what they need to bring. If we don't bring what we need to bring, he's gonna tell us the way he need to tell us. You know, but I kind of see him like as a man leader. You know, like he's bringing the people energy to the top, and myself as a player that's been playing in Tier 1 my entire life, it's not like I have nothing to learn. I do have a lot of things to learn, you know, like, but he's not gonna approach me like I'm gonna teach you the game, you know, and that I appreciate as well because I have that. Um, and yeah, it's just like, okay, this is your problem right now. We're gonna spend some time together. I'm gonna fix your problem, you know, and without judgment, without like anything. As long as you see improvement, he's happy. And no, I'm just happy that I have that kind of coach in the situation I am.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, Kenny, I think we'll bring up more questions as the show goes for sure. And if we get to the end, maybe we've even got some viewer questions that we can throw at you here as well. Striker, do you have anything else, or do you want to get into the quiz?
We can get into the quiz.
Okay,
There's some
we're gonna
fun
get
questions
into-
that have to do with some of what we talked about.
Okay, nice. So we're gonna get into who wants to be a Skinionaire. Ken, do you remember how this one goes?
No, I have no idea.
Okay, 5 questions, multiple choice. Striker
I do.
has created the questions, and if you get all 5 correct, some lucky viewer at home is going to get a pair of $50 gloves. So basically, they're all going to be typing Bitskins in chat right now to enter the draw. Everybody's just typing away, and every entry, it's not multiple raffle tickets, guys. You can only enter once, and then Kenny will be your gladiator, representing you in battle right now against Striker's questions. And look, Kenny, if you do need some help, I will do my best to assist. I don't know if I will be correct or not, but I will help it. I could be a lifeline if you need. All right, let's get into who wants to be a Skinionaire, brought to you by Bitskins. Question number 1, please, Lucas. Question 1, which of these teammates did you play the most maps with? Was it A, MBK, B, Apex, or C, Existence?
Wow, that's a tough one. Holy shit,
Striker
that's a
always
tough
makes
one.
tough questions here.
Literally, that could be all of them. Considering I stopped playing with Apex in 2018, but I've played with Okay, wait. Let me
Is
do
it
the
just
some math.
CSGO?
Yes, it's CS. Yeah, just CSGO.
Okay, so
that
don't-
doesn't
let's-
count.
don't
me
blow
do some-
sauce.
Let me do some math.
Okay.
Some math. Okay, so NBK, Very Games, Titan, partly Titan.
20 seconds.
G2. Hey,
We might need to give him more time here, Lucas, because he's actually working this out.
I would go with Existence.
Existence? Really?
Yeah. I would have said Apex in the first place.
Are you sure?
Because like me and Apex like always enjoy playing with each other, but we stopped playing with each other in 2017, and then I started playing with Existence again. Okay, that's NBK.
I locked in Existence, but if we can change the answer.
We can change the
To
answer. Of course, I
MBK.
didn't say my last word. My last word is NBK.
All right, we're changing it to MBK, and the correct answer is, I love the little refresh here, Lucas. That was
If
nice.
it's Existence, I'll leave
It's
you guys to show.
Apex. The correct answer is
Okay.
Apex.
That's not surprising, but
It's
it is a bit
actually-
surprising.
It's actually a lot more than Existence, both of them, because NBK is like 860 and Apex is like almost 1,000,
Yeah.
and Existence is like 400 or something, like 500.
Bloody
So a
hell.
lot,
Well,
a big
Apex,
difference.
yeah. I mean, Apex
the maps.
is one of the players that really pushed me to be a better player as well. So,
Yeah.
so yeah,
You played on like 6 different teams with Apex.
yeah, that's what I thought at some point. But after G2, we stopped playing together, which was a mistake, by the way. But for me, mostly, not for him. But for me, mostly, it was a mistake to stop playing with him.
That's wild. Okay. Well, all right. Well, question number 1 didn't go great, but let's go into question number 2. Can only get better from here. In how many years did you place on the top 20 list for HLTV? A 3, B 4, or C 5?
5.
5?
You can show them in the back. I literally see them in the
Oh,
background.
I can see the medals in the background as well, on the second level of that shelf over there.
It's been 5 times.
All right, locking in 5. Correct answer.
Maybe it's 4. 13, 12, no, 5 times.
5. Yeah, that's pretty fucking legit. All right, question number 3. Please, all these fucking numbers, I'm getting confused. Question 3. Which of these players has fewer MVP awards than you? coldzera, ZywOo, or Get Right?
Which of these players few MVP? Gatchat has as much as me. ZywOo, do you count the online ones?
everything that appears on
ZywOo.
HLTV
ZywOo does.
has fewer.
That's
Question
true.
is who has less.
Was less than me, coldzera.
coldzera?
There
All
you
right,
go.
lock it in A coldzera. Correct answer is A coldzera. ZywOo copping a couple fucking strays there.
ZywOo will finish Sky with 20 MVPs anyway. Something like that.
Oh, shit. That was funny. Okay. All right. Okay. Question number 4. That one I really like that one, Kenny. You can come around more often, mate. That was a good one. All
Well,
right.
he had
question,
like 6 online ones, to be fair. So yeah.
question number 4. How many different teams has MBK played for in CSGO? 6, 8, or 10?
Okay, wait.
We can already name 2. OG
Yeah.
and Falcons.
OG, Falcons, Mousesports, Titan, Very Games, ADLC, Vitality. That's Vitality.
early years.
Early
And
years
even
after
later
Vegas.
too.
After Vegas, there was LGLC. Then G2, 8. That's 8. That's
Okay.
8, but that could be 10. That's 8. I would say 8. Right. Am I missing something? No, wait. I don't think so. I think it's 8, yeah.
Does it count the team name they had before they became?
NV! 10!
Okay, has to be 10. Lock it in 10. Correct answer is 10. Okay, we're salvaging this one. So we can get 4 out of 5.
The
We can
10th
get 4
one
out
was
of 5.
the
How
10th
can
one
I
was the-
forget NV?
I think you didn't say Titan. I think you didn't
I
say
said
Titan.
I
You
said
said Titan.
Titan. I
You
said
said
Titan,
Titan?
but
Okay, then I
how
don't know
can I
which one you
forget?
missed.
But there is one I'm missing though.
Double pony.
Oh yeah, double pony is the last one. There you go.
The ponies.
We-
You can't
we'd
forget
never
about the
guess that.
ponies, mate. All right, all right. Fifth and final question here. When did Ozstriker's Counter-Strike career start? 2004, 2006, or 2008?
Oh my god. This has to be the earliest one, 2006. Is it 2004 then? 2004.
It has to be
4.
2004.
Alright, that's 4
Has
then.
to be 2004. I was fucking watching him when I was like 14 years of age. Has to be.
He was already 30.
Yeah, I think
31.
he's been
31,
44 for
22.
20 years. All right, we lock it in A. Lock it in A. Correct answer is 2004. All right, 4 out of 5. Not bad. Prof's not here, Lucas. Can we just make it 5 out of 5? Because Kenny made me laugh.
There's
Lucas.
good answers.
Lucas. I know that you're drawing.
Collection.
I know that you're drawing the winner right now, Lucas. But can we make it 5 out of 5? It's 5. 5 out of 5. See, 5 out of 5. Well, there was that first question. It was the fucking hardest question. The winner is quick share with a 4 and the 3 of share with numbers. So that's pretty good. That's a good name there, quick share. The A and the 3, the A and the E. Why did I say 4 and the 3? Anyway, quick share. He's the winner. Our people will reach out to your people and we'll get you your skin. That's from Bitskins. Now, you know what we should do right now, Lucas?
What?
You know what we should do right now?
Run the ads?
Run the ads. Let's run the ads, Lucas.
The Xtrfy M42 RGB, what a fun mouse with 5 colorways, lightweight frame at just 59 grams with a swappable backplate to suit your grip style, the sensor, the easy core, the smooth skates, and driverless control for RGB and DPI is why you should check out the M42 RGB down below.
Finally, I found what I was looking for. Now that my search is over, it's gonna be a tough choice. But fortunately, no need to choose. When you can just have them all. Buy and sell skins on Bitskins.com.
And one bet. Your bet. Your game.
Welcome back to the recent news. And the recent news around my household is this Christmas tree. It doesn't resemble a traditional Christmas tree. It is a real tree. Smells real. And you guys couldn't see it in the background. So I wanted to put it front and center here. But we are going to be getting into the N1 moment to kick off the recent news. And what we've done with the N1 moment is we've amalgamated a nice piece of, well, recent news with the N1 moment. So the N1 moment this week is going to be talking about amalgamated. Did I use that correctly, Striker?
I did not hear in the context you used it in. I'm
You
sorry.
didn't? All right. Well, let's hope I did. But basically, long story short, the N1 moment for this week is going to be about devices return. Funny thing is, we had a couple weeks ago, Kenny, mate. We had an N1 moment, and it was you in the server. We had you back in this. I think it was like Overpass. Was it Overpass highlights? Either. Anyway, you were our N1 moment. Basically, this is a little segment we do on the show where we highlight something. Well, it doesn't have to be nice, but we highlight something in recent news. And this time around, we're going to be highlighting a device. Now, we don't have any crazy plays, but what we do have should be some
Chris stats.
Yeah, his stats, right? His stats. And that's all that we care about in Counter-Strike, right? It's just the hard numbers. No one cares about anything else. But all in all, and I want to, we can go on a more lengthy conversation about this, but I think this is the only way Device got out of this situation, like in the clear, right? He's not going to, no one's going to rag on him, right? But we expected him to play well, especially against teams like Tricked,
Yeah.
right? And we we don't expect this Astralis roster to necessarily win, and they didn't. But Device came back. He played well. He did what he needed to do. It was online Counter-Strike as well, so people were always going to have that. He just needed to do he did more than hold his own, right? He still showed very good form against the level of opponent that is obviously nothing crazy, but that's why he had to perform to this level. He had an average game where a stinker, people would have been up in arms. But the fact here, he comes in, he takes care of business. This is the best case scenario for Device, which is probably just a relief here, I imagine. Striker, what do you think? Is this? Well, it's a good showing, obviously. But
Exactly,
it feels
but
the best of a bad situation.
Obviously people will take it the wrong way, because like now the story is now it's just going to be about Device and Blame because the other one the rest can't really keep up with those two.
Okay.
Because those two were the ones that kind of like carried them throughout those two series as well. So it just becomes the Device and Blame story now. When before it was Config and Blame and whatever. So
Until they get stare.
yeah, I don't think that's happening.
Well, maybe if Sprout lose right now against Spirit, maybe that'll be... Nah, you're probably right. That's probably not happening. But yeah, look, I just wanted to kind of celebrate the return of Device here, which is good. It's good to see him back in the server. But you're right. In terms of the team as a whole, more has to change. Kenny, do you have that feeling about Astralis, that this isn't the final team that we'll be seeing next year?
Well, I don't know. I haven't watched the return of Device. I heard that the city side is pretty weak, right?
Well,
Yeah,
they've only played 2 best of 3s, right?
I mean,
well,
before
let
that,
me check,
right.
because funny fact is that having Device and Blame F, which are two really strong city side players, and still having weak city sides is pretty odd, if in my opinion.
Are you
But
leaking practice information now?
oh no, they were really good in practice, trust me. And without Device.
Without Device, okay, fucking hell. So they were scary regardless.
Not like amazing city size, but pretty normal. Just one bad city side.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I haven't watched them honestly, and you know, like I'm not in a spot to criticize anyone anyway. But I don't know. Like I honestly I don't want to give an opinion on this because I haven't have any like feedback to necessarily give. Obviously, Blame F he's playing out of his mind for years now, so it's probably not gonna change. And Device is gonna be the same Device as before. But the question is about the Glaive, Xitnix, and Mr. Core. Mr. is like he's a really young player.
He's still in the academy roster officially. I don't think
so-
he's officially on their roster. So
No, I
But-
mean they even updated the website team. Somebody just put it up on Reddit because they posted it on Twitter, even saying, "Oh, we updated like everybody's settings," and they listed a page of the team where it just shows the 4 players without mystery. You know, and
Yeah,
I even
yeah.
checked about this just to double check, and I did get confirmation that there's no
Yeah,
like you know
he
he's still on
might not
loan.
be ready for the big stage yet, you know. But he's played a couple of games, like 27 games for Astralis, I can see, which is decent. Everyone is on Ximni's shoulders, I know. Is he clutching?
Not a
well,
lot.
look, the thing is that Zip had a good game not that long ago, right? So this is the thing. Zip just has to have one good game,
yeah.
right? And then, but the thing, the conversation for me right now that Device is back is you can keep Glaive, you can keep Device, you can keep Blame F, and you get 2 more players. They could be young players, and you could have a really strong team in 6 months, I think. But if they continue to like try and drag this team, unless they can bring in a really good star signing for Mister and someone that's going to deliver in the firepower department in a big way and be just a consistent, as if you have Blame F, Device, and then a third rifler, a rifler as that third star, you're in a good spot because we know that Glaive can go aggressive. And then let's say if they keep Zip and he can still do his job, right? If he can if he gets his roles and positions back, because we know that there was a bit of overlap with him and Blame. If they're using Blame more aggressively, there's a lot of things that could be conversation points around how Astralis could get back to being a bit of a contender here. But right now, this doesn't feel like the magic recipe, right? Or you know, I could have done something with Magisk there. We could have had a bit of a fun conversation. No, but they are missing.
I think they need someone new, you know, like a new blood, not like since like bringing someone back or like having a player that has been around for years, such like as Config, you know, like I don't see Config fitting there somehow. But someone new, like the Sprout guy would be great, but most likely Sprout is not really interested into letting him go, which makes sense. But I think there is someone new that is needed there, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, we'll see what they do, right? We've always been a little bit puzzled by some of the choices Astralis have made. over the years. And well, this actually links us into the next piece of news quite nicely here. So, Striker, I want to give you the floor on this one because I love giving you the hard tasks. Now, in recent times, ESIC have erased HUNDEN's ban. Right? We have lifted here,
Actually,
but they've erased it. It
it,
doesn't exist anymore. His ban, it was never even a thing. So, do you want to give everybody at home a little bit of a catch up on what's been going on?
I mean, that's the thing. Like, we just don't even know how exactly this happened, right? We just know that Hunden lured up in some way. There's been reports that like that actually happened very early on after his ban, and now it got removed, even like completely deleted from the website and everything like that. EC basically don't want anything to do with it. It seems like, and even the statement about it seems very vague and kind of like vaguely referring to ESIC kind of promising to review their procedures and things like that. So there's clearly been some mishandling of the case from ESIC side, and that's why this ban was lifted. That's pretty much it. Hunden is now free to play to get signed for Astralis, I guess. I don't know.
Okay, so that's what we've spoken about. There is he could have already been signed for Astralis, right?
Well,
Just
yeah,
not
of course.
as the
I mean,
coach.
he could have. Yeah, well, he could have even been signed as the coach. He just couldn't have been officially with them on servers. Then like in
Sure.
tournaments, because like on tournament grounds and things like that, he could have still coached them in the behind the scenes, and there would have been technically. I'm just saying technically nothing wrong about it. Obviously, people talk about morality and all of that stuff, but like technically, he could have still worked with Astralis, just not officially on the server or officially on tournament grounds.
Yeah, this is a curious one, Kenny. How much did you get? Did you get caught up on all of this drama when it was going down, when all the coaching stuff and the Hunden situation? Are you well versed in this? Would you say?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, once again, that's us and us only. But back in G2, we would never have agreed to have someone cheating for us. So yeah, that was a weird time. Honestly, that was a weird time. And considering I was not like concerned by those things, I couldn't say if that's a weird thing or like just like a guy making magical calls and not anyone knowing about it.
Yeah. I mean, just to be
And
clear, this is the second band that didn't have anything to do with the coaching.
yeah, but ASIC sounds like a joke as well, a little bit, at some point.
Well, that takes us
Um,
to the next point there, Kenny. And I think that like the fact that you've said that is kind of what I think the community stance is right now, is that ESIC with this, because the fact that they've got lawyers and they've just erased
They
it from
can't
their
withstand
website.
any sort of like
Scrutiny.
backlash about their scrutiny about their bans. Like it
No,
seems very clear.
You cannot just ban people and ban them again and just ban them. Maybe we're not sure. Like I don't know. I don't really know what happened with Gary, the Furia coach, but from what I heard, that's also like a big bullshit.
Yeah.
I mean, that's got more to do with Valve rather than ESIC, because he wasn't even in ban for that long with ESIC.
But this is where the problem is, Striker, because what you're saying is true, right?
I know what you okay.
No, but this is for people at home, right? Like I think you and I are probably in a very similar stance here, right? These bans in the first place, it got found out that this was happening, and then Steve and Mihal, they went through and they created this stuff, and they found out all the cases that happened, and then they assisted ESIC in part of this, and then ESIC put out all their sanctions and their fucking spreadsheets and their tables, and they worked out who was going to be banned and for how long, and different sanctions and this, that, and the fucking other. And then Valve went in and go, oh, this is who everybody believes is the integrity body for Counter-Strike. Well, if everybody else is trusting what they're doing, I guess we will too. And then they went and then they
I mean,
took.
that makes sense at some point. They're supposed to be they're supposed to be like bringing the justice at some point, and you're supposed to trust them. But if they're not able to build the justice that makes sense, that is fair, at some point, we're gonna give that to someone else, and that is the normal things, like. But that they were trusted in the first place makes sense to me, but then they fucked up themselves.
Yeah.
I would not
too many
blame
times.
Valve. I would not blame Valve for trusting them at some point, I would blame ESIC for not like doing things properly and fairly,
And this is, I think, the quandary. If you put yourself in Valve's position for a second, let's say they have got wind of what's been going on and this Hunden situation and stuff. Well, do then they take a step back and go, well, do we just absolve all of these? Do we just wash all these away? Are there some that we keep? Because Valve clearly don't want to be hands-on with this. It shouldn't be their responsibility. That's what I see, right? Because Valve have never stepped in this way before. They've acted on things like when we had the stuff happen with Steel and all those guys. That was off Richard doing all the reports and stuff, right?
Yeah.
So somebody else had to do the work, and then Valve acted. So now this has happened. It's very unlikely Valve will walk these back. Maybe there's a conversation that can be had there. But this, for me, falls at ESIC, who are stepping into territory that they're not equipped for. Because we know that there were CS experts who helped them look at this information that was being brought to them about the coaching bug. Who were those experts? I would love to have their names, right? Because those are the people that helped curate whatever these sanctions were going to be, whatever the point systems were going to be. These are the people who helped inform them based off that information. If these were just employees of like different companies and TOs and stuff who aren't actually Counter-Strike players, maybe they were like fucking 20 years ago, but they've never really touched CSGO,
Right.
and they're people like giving that type of information. That's bad enough in itself, right? And here's me looking to point fingers at different people, but at the end of the day, ESIC should have never been in this lane. Anything game-wise, we should have people who are game experts to talk about the things in the game. If they're going to sit and do their fucking match fixing or their gambling stuff, that's fine, because Ian is an expert in that. And that is probably what they should have focused on the entire time, was match fixing and anything corrupt in that way. But as soon as you start stepping into our world of things that are game related, that, you know, people like Kenny, I've put a shitload of hours into Counter-Strike over my, like, these are nuanced little details here, right? That you can't just have people who don't know the game, who don't have any tangible experience coming in and making decisions on. And then that's why I question, who the fuck were the people they asked? Because if we found ourselves in this situation and like we had evidence of this, we had Team 2 recordings of this, we had a camera vision of this, like, actual Counter-Strike experts would have been able to say what was possible and what wasn't possible, right? So there's a lot of steps here that have gone wrong. And this is a problem because now there's no credibility for the CSPPA. There's no credibility for ESIC. Both of these things, as far as I'm concerned, in Counter-Strike have been flops. And if we want to do them properly, then we need to have a change of approach of how we do these things, right? We need to have Counter-Strike experts involved in Counter-Strike stuff, right? Like it's even in-game.
HLTV? Don't you do it?
That would never happen because HLTV is like commercially sponsored, right?
Yeah.
Look,
no, but of course, but you need transparency in those things. There is a lack of transparency. Who works for the investigation? Who does it and stuff? So that's all bullshit in my opinion.
You see why this is a problem? Even what you were talking about, Chad, is the fact that we don't know why exactly HUNDEN got on. You know, I'm going to use the word unbanned, even though like they are basically acting like the ban was never there now.
Yeah,
kind of. Is that like, so does that mean, like, first of all, does that mean that they fucked up on the lawyer side and just didn't have it covered well enough? So like whenever it got challenged, they just can't hold up the ban because maybe they like the clause that they used, because they used like a super catch-all clause for banning him, like anything that isn't otherwise covered by the code of conduct that could be damaging to an event and things like that. Like there was a vague part of the code of conduct that they used to ban HUNDEN for this, basically. So was it because of the lawyer part that they couldn't hold it up, or was it because their initial evaluation of what HUNDEN did was wrong? The fact that like whatever he shared, whatever actually happened there, that's the thing. Like we never knew what exactly he shared.
True.
Like there were some, references to like what it was, like strategy material and blah blah blah. Some people saying it was just anti-strat. Some unnamed experts saying that it was important enough to get him banned for, like, let's say corporate espionage type stuff.
Sure. Yep.
So that's the thing. Like we don't even know like if what he did in the first place actually happened the way that ESIC said it, or did they just get it wrong because they don't know anything about the game, because they didn't understand, like, so like this all is so difficult to understand. Is like people can't even make a judgment about, so HUNDEN, like did HUNDEN actually do anything wrong, or did he just get out of it in a lower way where they can't hold it up? Like what the fuck even happened? That's the problem. Like we just don't know anything.
Yeah, look, ESIC didn't create this mess. Obviously, people abusing a bug did, but ESIC definitely came in and fucked this shit up, right? Like they came in and made a mess of it. Unfortunately, here.
Well, that's the thing. Like they with this case specifically with HUNDEN, right? Like they stepped into an area that they just felt like was something that they probably should have done something about, but didn't have anything to do with necessarily integrity of the game, or like things like that. That could have been something that the teams handled between each other, or like the team could have handled on their own. Maybe like the corporate espionage type stuff
Sure.
where they would have taken it to court because he shared some stuff that we probably shouldn't have based on his contract. Whatever it is exactly. Maybe they should have just let them handle it. And then like repercussions would have been there rather than them acting like the body that they are. Having to do with anything integrity related in Counter-Strike, and maybe just stepping a little bit too far, and just handling something that they probably didn't know anything like enough about. So that's just my entire issue with it.
I bet they wish they didn't get involved with it now in hindsight, right? Because it's just caused them so much more work. It's completely fucked. Anyway, if people are interested in finding out more information, at least from what we've discussed in the past, Lucas reminded me of the episode we did with Ian Smith. You can check that out. I've put some, I've spammed it in the Twitch chat right now. Also, if you want to go back and listen to all of the HUNDEN saga and everything that happened, we got plenty of episodes about that for you to go and listen to, so you can go and check that out as well. There's no point us rehashing everything here to do with HUNDEN and all of that. It's just kind of now, well, yeah, as Striker mentioned at the start of this topic, it's likely now he can just go over there and officially be Astralis' coach, and that would probably be what happens. Do we think, Striker, that Astralis give a fuck how that's going to look to the public, or they just want to get back to winning?
They
should not.
They have very specifically said that as long as he's unbanned, they're going to be happy to hire him. So like, I would be surprised if there wasn't somebody in HUNDEN's mailbox already. Like getting him at least an offer about like the coaching job that it's obviously still kind of empty in Astralis, and Castle is just somewhat of an interim coach, potentially staying a little bit longer depending on if they can get somebody new. So like they have already said that they are happy to hire him, like as long as he doesn't have a ban.
You just said, Kenny, they should.
Yeah.
Why should they? He's just that good, just that valuable?
I think like what does it matter the public what they think, honestly?
Fair enough.
Well, to them it kind of does, because it
No,
has
I
to do
mean,
with shareholders and things like that.
It does to everyone. It really does to everyone. But since Zonic left Astralis, they never really found a coach that was like substantially like bringing them something from the outside perspective, and they never really found the consistency with a coach either. Now that they brought Divas back, I think they really need to build around all those things, as we mentioned before, like Glaive, PMF, Device, building around them, and doesn't matter what people think. And then he still tactically was a great in-game leader tactically, and I think he was a good coach as well. So I think if they need him, they should hire him. That's as simple as that.
Yeah, I mean, it's also because they kind of need somebody new, like because they can't buy somebody existing already, because heroic players are probably not leaving at this point. Like they just have a much better team. There's no reason for them to join Astralis other than that being the biggest brand in Denmark, esports wise anyway, or team wise anyway. That would be the only reason I could see, for anybody from heroic to go over to Astralis. Then we've heard the things about like Sprout's response to the Stair rumors, saying he's just not leaving. Like, no, thank you, basically, they said. So that's a no-go. Then there's like Xiphon, who just joined Sprout. That's the same thing. Like he's not gonna leave, So some of these players, like we've just seen move elsewhere, like we just had Fnatic pick up Roy, and things like that. Like all of these players that were kind of on the market for a long time and Astralis passed up on, they're not available anymore. So they do need somebody like HUNDEN who will bring up some new talent, or just like scout new talent and things like that, because that's literally what he did for years and years and years. He constantly brought up new talent from like lower tiers of the Danish scene. So like as much as it would be at least ethically questionable, or whatever it is, like it is a good fit.
Yeah.
The guy is in ban, right?
Yeah,
he's only banned in the majors until 2024. So it says here, bug
the next
abuse.
two majors, I think, would be.
Do you think that a coach that is working a whole year with a team not being able to attend the major will make a big difference for that team?
For Astralis, they've got to get back to the majors first. So
I mean, they have to get there.
Obviously, but do you need your coach behind you at that tournament? I mean, it sucks.
Probably not
obviously.
with Glaive. Like, I think they could get through the RMRs with Glaive, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like, it won't be easy. I don't think it'd be easy for them to do. I think because Glaive
we've had coaches work like behind the scenes even without like being actually on tournament grounds. Like exactly on the server, maybe it could make a slight difference, but like coaches do most of their job outside of that anyway
Yeah,
at this point. So
that's the
I think
thing.
it's still like it's a trade-off that I'd be willing to gamble Astralis are willing to take.
Yeah. Okay. Do we want to do any more on this? We good with this?
Not really. Go.
Yeah, I
go.
think we've had plenty of people cover this off in recent times. Let's
Yeah.
jump into the Cloud9 situation, because this one is very interesting to me. So for those people who have missed the rumors, Overdrive was out there tweeting some stuff, and then I see that HLTV put up an article here about the possible players to replace interz over there on Cloud9, who I think a lot of people's knee-jerk reaction immediately would be interz isn't the problem. Is that your initial risk? Like, Kenny, when you look at Cloud9 and you look at this team, they're young, they've kind of come to not fruition. They've risen to power in the online era, and now on LAN, they're not able to hit those same heights other than IEM Dallas earlier in the year. You look at this team. Do you think that they're a team that needs to make a change to make that next leap?
That I don't know. That major was really weird, especially from Cloud9. I swear to God, like to change the stage, the legend stage, and then the playoff. What like this team is literally unpredictable at some point. Like I feel like they're having a hard time dealing with the pressure in general, which maybe explains why they're swinging a little bit more to play as good as they were playing in the online season, or maybe teams are just better offline than online. But yeah, I've seen the only player that I'm actually seeing being really consistent in that team is Shiro. He did an incredible major. But I know like a player like Xtrfy has been overly hyped a lot.
He's very up and down
for good reasons. But the thing is that for now, it doesn't really have a star player statue, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Because of the up and downs he's having. So maybe at some point they might be lacking of firepower. I kind of liked the way NAVI has been playing at this major as well. I think individually really stepped up. But yeah, the Cloud9 game style is really not really like variable, if that makes sense, and maybe expectable from other teams.
Yeah.
So I don't know if interz is a problem, but they might need a change. Yeah, they might need a change considering like their own star players are not performing consistently except Hero, But Axai needs to be more consistent, obviously. I think Orbit is doing what he needs to do. So I don't see any issues in Orbit. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what you guys think about NAVI, but I've always been quite a fan of NAVI at some point. Even though individually he's been having a lot of up and downs as well. But it's once again, it's an in-game leader, and he needs to give the space. And obviously, you need to support those guys. You need to support those guys. And that's also the big question about interz is that his role is not to necessarily drop 30 kills every round, So what's the problem in that team? The problem is maybe the system they're having, maybe the coaching, maybe the staff, maybe the mental side of it, maybe the lack of experience, because at the end of the day, except of Orbit, they don't have a lot of experience in general, even though I feel like Axel has been there for a century. They might have mental issues as well, like many teams, obviously. That's that's the biggest problem of CSGO players anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, I also see them as it's not a young team, but it's been mentioned a couple of times that they're having internal issues within them as well, So yeah, like you can cover up internal issues with good results, but at some point everything crumble when you start to lose. So what is the problem of that team? That's a good question, my friend.
This is the thing. You've highlighted many issues, right? And this is where for me the conversation is, because the knee jerk, especially from a community standpoint, is, well, interz isn't the problem, and I can get behind that if we assume that the team is going to operate as it operates now. Right?
But if you wanted to run, it's not with the names that are on the docket. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that I think that it's the approach to the game, right? The way that they're playing they're playing by the book Counter-Strike, and as you said, Kenny, that can be easy to read because they're not really mixing it up too much, right? And they're not really giving their players that freedom for the creativity because they're playing the by the book Counter-Strike, which is how you want every team to start, but then you need to add your own little moves
Yeah.
and your own little strats and everything on top of that to have your identity in the way that you approach the game. So I think the issues are twofold. So then if you go, okay, well, it's the approach to the game's the issue. Well, then who do you look to change? Well, do you look to change the in-game leader, NAVI, or do you look to change the coaching staff with Groove and Finn and everybody like that? Well, you go, if you don't want to change either, but you want to add a new weapon, right? Let's say right now that they agree with Kenny's point. Let's say that Cloud9 have identified the fact here that Axel is inconsistent enough to be the second star of this team. Okay, well, let's bring in another fucking sick rifler. Now, I know some of the names on the list. Forrester was one. If I want a sick rifler who I know is going to deliver me a multi-kill, I'd look towards a Forrester. If I want somebody to be a supportive element, then I would look towards Sanji was one of the names on the list and Buster as well,
Buster
right?
was the other one, yeah.
So this is the thing. Out of those names on the list, Buster and mainly Forrester putting me in the position where, okay, they want to have a different weapon. They want a different, but when Sanji comes in, I go, what the fuck are they doing? Just keep interz. But if they want a new weapon, if they want somebody that they can they want more experience, Buster makes a lot of sense. If they want somebody who can offer them maybe a little bit more as a player, Forrester makes sense. But Sanji doesn't make any sense to me as a conversation point whatsoever. I just look at this instead of just going, okay, interz isn't the problem. I'm trying to look at what Cloud9 have identified as the problem and see why they might be wanting to make this change. Because there's no point in us going, well, this is fucking stupid from C9. We're better off going, well, let's try and understand the decision. And then if we understand it, maybe it can help us work out what they're trying to change. So, Striker, where do you land with all of this?
I am curious about what it would look like with Forrester, because obviously he's a very different player. Like in Entropic, he was kind of like the guy who got a lot of space, who got a lot of his moves, and he was kind of their biggest star rifler behind Elian as the AWPer, and the one who just could have done mostly whatever he wanted, in rounds. So like if they get him in, what does that mean for Cloud9? Because like Buster, I can see that he could fill in like supportive positions. Sanju, obviously, like he's done that pretty much his entire career, right? So, but this Forrester one is the one that intrigues me the most because it's just a completely different player to interz. It's a different role, You have to switch the entire team around if you want a player like, maybe not the entire team, but a lot of the setup, maybe around the Shiro pack, let's say, like you would have to just set up differently, Because at the moment, like it's Cloud9 sometimes live or die with NAVI trying to get the entries or just trying to make space for them. But that doesn't necessarily always happen, right? Like he's kind of like the
His is the coin toss. His style of play is the coin toss in a lot of rounds.
Like it's just sometimes he just dies without doing anything, maybe handing off some information, but just dies and makes it a 4v5 for nothing really. And sometimes he gets them the opening, but like you do need a little bit more consistency in that if you want to be a very consistent team. So I think that's somewhere where I would be looking towards Forrester being a viable option, where maybe he would be the one, not Exile, who's clearly not been the one that's taking a lot of initiative in that sense, to take a lot of space, even though he just hasn't so much. So that could be the avenue. I don't know who else could be like in their sights, because from what Overdrive was saying, there was a lot of different players in their sights, and obviously like a lot of people would probably want to join Cloud9. It's more like about if it's actually possible.
And the really difficult things about the inconsistency of Exile, for example, is that he's an aggressive player, and they really lack of aggressivity in the team, you know?
Yeah.
So if Axel is not successful, well, once again, like it makes them like stuck in the game style, because you don't see Shiro taking that kind of initiative, for example. He's a really like passive AWPer, and it's working really well, but you might need more aggressivity. Like NAVI is aggressive at some point as well, but as you said, it's more like he's throwing himself for his teammates,
Yeah.
So that's not the kind of aggressivity that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I think that this is the thing. Like right now, I think the polarizing in-game leaders in terms of that aggression are like Art and NAVI. Those are probably the two that stick out in terms of where Art seems to have a couple more. He's got a whole circus show behind his, whereas NAVI's is right. If I get away with it, I get away with it. If I don't, I don't. But let's say that they wanted to not new to NAVI, but maybe try and assist in that aggressive style, and you bring in a different player, and then I don't know, maybe you move Axile and you say, listen, mate, we wanted you to be an aggressive element, but now you're gonna have to take a backseat over here. Maybe Forrester gets, I don't know. This is the thing. Cloud9 have this decent lead time, which is nice. They get this time to be able to practice and trial these players because they're not in the Blast World Finals, which we're going to be talking about coming up very soon. But this is a luxury they have afforded to them right now, where they can actually spend these 2 months to try and work this out. And it's good that they're actively doing something. You could trial all these players and still keep interz, right? Like if I wouldn't advise, right? They have to make some changes, but maybe they decide, okay, we've worked out how the approach of the game wants to change, or something along those lines, right? So we will see where they end up.
Sorry to cut you, but there is also that opportunity that will be. NAVI mentioned many times that Shiro is gonna be an in-game leader. He's made for this, and Shiro is really like James, for example.
Yeah.
So like removing NAVI, putting Shiro as an in-game leader, and finally making him like go further in his career and take the next step, which is obviously a big challenge. But that wouldn't block a lot of things as well, like they could bring whoever they want at the end of the day after this.
Or maybe they could just even keep NAVI and just like try to hand over the reins to Shiro and and him being the in-game leader, and NAVI can just go do his crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Like unlock him a little bit more, like what happened with NIP and Hampus maybe a little bit or whatever. Like that type of angle. I think that's also something to try, at least. If you don't want to make roster changes, you can try that. But still, I mean, it seems very set that they do want to make a roster change at this point, that they are pretty set on this. So I mean, it could turn out the way you were saying, Sponge, that they just, they don't find the right fit. And, and if they don't find the right fit, that means, okay, well, then interz is probably just our better choice. And then we can try to do these other things, that maybe we had in mind about changing. So
look, all they need to do is listen to GB James' great advice, make a play, make a play to get your dick hard, right? So if they can just start doing that, then I think we'll be all scared of Cloud9 because they're a great team. Now, I've got 2 things here, just quickly. Quick share. The winner of the Bitskins, who wants to be a Skinionaire. Lucas is trying to contact you, but you have your whispers disabled, so he cannot get in contact. So I wanted to just highlight that one right here. And I wanted to segue using the Russians we were just talking about to talk about Russians in general being available now to play in Katowice. Now, look, I don't know if we mentioned this on the show before, Striker. We have, because I know we definitely spoke about it in private about like how much of a shit show Katowice might be, because we were just looking at the teams who could potentially be affected by this if the Russians couldn't go. Would have been like Outsiders, NAVI, Cloud9, G2 with Monacy in the mix right there. And that's just me getting started, right? Like we've obviously, there's a whole bunch of names that you can go through who would be affected potentially by this. So the fact that it's all good, are we in the clear? Is it a big green light, or is it still a little bit amber?
I would say it's pretty green. It's just basically the deal is that for people who don't know, there was this ban that Poland, Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia imposed on Russians arriving at their external borders, which means external European borders or European Union borders. So for Poland, that would be where Kaliningrad is, and then for the Baltic states, this would be for their borders with Russia. That's the big caveat there. Those are the borders that are being blocked, let's say, by this ban to most Russians. But Russians can still enter the countries from at least from the Schengen area. So, like, let's say they go to Germany or Czech Republic or to Slovakia or whatever borders with Poland, that it is easy to get to Poland, then they can pass through, and that they're actually not going to be stopped even if they get checked. It's not a problem legally for them to go to Poland through those areas. It's just that they're just not going to be allowed in through those external borders and through flights, because like a lot of flights from Russia have been banned entirely, and even from third countries they're not going to be allowed in. It has to be through the Schengen area apparently. But it is possible. It's harder, but it is possible. And I'm sure that the teams will do everything that they can, to be able to figure out a way to travel to Poland in a way that is possible.
Sure. We don't have the teams locked in for Katowice just yet. We have Fnatic and Permita, who just qualified for the
but then we have
Outsiders as well.
Outsiders already qualified for Katowice straight. I mean, you're in the play-in, I think, right? But
I'm looking at the play-in right now.
for Katowice through the major.
Yep.
FaZe are qualified,
FaZe are there
Vitality are
too.
qualified, but like most of the team list is already locked in based on the ranking. I
Points
think
and
there's
shit,
just like
right,
some spots that could potentially, like at the bottom, could be changed through like the South America and North America ones, and then some teams might hop back and forth between the groups and the play-ins. But most of those teams are pretty much locked in, and we should hear about this in a week.
Pretty soon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next week is going to be locked in.
Well, this is just good news because Katowice is pretty early next year, right? I think it's been brought forward by like a week or 2 weeks.
Yep.
So this is going to be our first event pretty quickly in towards the year. I think we get back underway with Blast's groups,
yeah.
which I don't think they've announced yet. It's going to go like Blast groups into Katowice and then straight into Pro League, basically. So the year's just going to get underway real quick here. Kenny, do you have anything to add about this? This is a pretty nothing kind of topic here. It's just good news for Counter-Strike fans, knowing that the Russians will be able to play and the event actually means something.
No, just that's really good.
Okay.
That's really good. That's all.
Two thumbs up from
Katowice would have been rough if
Beautiful
it
stuff.
wasn't.
All right, we're going to get into talking about the Blast World Finals now, the last event of the year. That's going to be going down in Abu Dhabi, kicking off on Wednesday. And us Europeans, well, I'm not a European. I live in Europe. I guess I guess we're all humans on Earth.
We
How's that?
adopted you, bro.
Yeah,
You have a British passport. You can passport.
Not technically not European anymore either.
I mean, not
right?
European Union, but you are still European technically.
On the continent, right? Something like that.
Kinda.
All right, I wanna jump into this and start talking about this. But Lucas, can you roll the playtime bumper? Because this has never happened to me before. I need to run and take a piss, mate. So can you run the playtime? But I know we're not going into playtime, but just run it so I have 60 seconds. Thanks, Lucas.
Playtime is like 10 seconds.
It's
though.
not 10. You want me to loop
back.
it? Endless loop?
No, just run it.
Okay.
Run whatever you can. All right, we're back.
And it's
That
a
isn't, so
chair
we're gonna-
cam.
It's a chair cam. It's like back to all episode. Yeah, we're back. I mean, we're gonna wait for chat to come back, but we are going to transition into the world final talk and the teams that are going to be there. Kenny, you said you were going to Abu Dhabi, right?
I am. Play.
Why?
To play the show match.
Ah,
Yeah.
is that a leak? I don't know if that's public.
No, that's public actually.
Okay.
If you don't follow me on Twitter, it's your time to do it.
I think I did follow you. I just missed
Of
it.
course you follow me. You better
course
follow
I
me.
do,
Of
yeah.
course you follow me. Yes.
You're unverified, by the way. I saw. I just saw.
I know,
Is it
I'm-
because you changed the handle?
because
or
I
what
changed the
happened?
name. Yeah, because I changed the
Ah.
name.
Okay.
But nowadays, I try to pay for it, but they don't let me. In my country, they don't let me. You need to be in the UK, USA. I don't know what other countries you need to be, but I cannot pay for it. I wish I could though.
You can't be fake, but I mean, you can. I'm sure you can ask for it, and it's not going to be a problem. Like
Oh,
everything.
I tried. Trust me, I tried. And, I have
And you
contact.
got denied?
I have contact
Oh, you okay?
with Elon directly, but he's too busy anyway me.
Are we
Yeah,
live?
we're back. Yeah, we're back live, Chad.
What did I miss?
Nothing. That's Kenny is going to play the show match in Abu Dhabi.
Okay, that's nice. You know anything about it?
No.
About it? All right, you're just gonna play it.
It's probably going to be their new stuff. The voting.
It's a stage.
With the Blast TV. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's
It's
one
a
thing.
stage game. I love stage, so I take it.
I'm going to
stage
be interested to see because I didn't even click with me until last week's episode. Or I don't even know. Yeah, was it last week's episode when we were talking about the fact that there's going to be a crowd there?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it's a fucking massive arena. That's the problem.
I didn't think it was going to be. I thought it was
I
just
don't
going
know
to be
how
like a
they're gonna
studio
fill it,
event.
man. Nope.
So this is interesting already in itself. Like it's going to be curious to see if it fills out, how they
It's
feel
not gonna
it,
look.
fill
It's
it out.
not gonna fill out. Like if they do fill it out, that they're literally gonna have to like. Okay, now I'm not gonna go. There.
Ah, we
I'm
know
not
what
gonna-
he's doing. We
They're
know
going
what
to
he's doing.
sell the. They're going to have to
I'm not
pay
gonna-
people to be in the seats. Is that what you're saying?
Huh?
They're going to have to pay people to be in the seats. Is
I
that what
didn't. I was not gonna say pay, but look, okay, let's just go with pay.
Incentivize.
Yes, incentivize.
I
Hey,
mean,
look, mate.
haven't
Yeah,
there
Lucas?
been a lot of? I've seen a lot of ads for people saying like, "Come to Dubai, buy tickets" on Twitter. I didn't
Abu
see
Dhabi,
that.
but sort of-
Yeah,
I've done
Abu
it.
Dhabi, sorry.
But what about
Yeah.
over there? They're like all the football fans over there watching the World Cup, right? Maybe they'll just come over for the weekend and watch the
Yeah.
counter.
I
Just
just
come
I
on
didn't
over.
see that for Copenhagen, So maybe that's If
And
you
so you're saying this is a good thing?
No, I'm saying
This is a
maybe
bad thing.
all of the promotion that they have to do is a bad thing because they're not
Oh
selling
yeah,
enough
because they're
tickets.
trying to get people in. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
I mean,
Yeah,
generally,
but-
there's also a lot of players like giving away tickets and things like that, which is generally not a great sign. But like nobody expected. I don't know what the idea is even in the
But we
first
all
place to
understand
put
this,
it in
right?
such a big
People,
arena. You know?
let's explain this to people at home, Striker. Maybe people don't
Yeah,
get
go
it,
for
right?
it.
Why is the event in Abu Dhabi? Well, I imagine because the government there said we will give you a lot of money to have the event here, and they went, yes, we'll give
like
the
in
event there.
Malta.
Right? Yeah, like exactly. So it's very likely that is the rationale behind why the event is in Abu Dhabi. I don't think they went and go, yeah, we're going to pack out an arena here. Like the fact if you can get an arena for free, or they help with flights, or they help with the hotel, or they help with this, or they help with that, that takes a lot of cost away from Blast to run their final. And then the Blast just have to go in there and put on their event and do what they do, which is production very well, and then bang, you've got an event. Right, the crowd turnout, it might come back to bite them in the ass, considering how our community is, right? If we go there and it's an empty arena and they're putting on this massive Blast show that they would in Copenhagen for no people, then it's going to look kind of silly. But I think the Blast are going to do something really smart about it. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what the plan is. Like I said, I didn't even know 2 weeks ago there was even meant to be a fucking crowd. But there's one thing I do know is that Blast are very smart in the way that they do these things, and I'm sure that they will have some plan in place to deal with lack of audience. So I'm excited to see what it ends up like, because Blast continue to kind of like push the agenda, continue to develop things, and that's why I was bringing up Blast TV. I think it's really cool that they're creating this hub for Counter-Strike fans to go to experience the game in more ways than one. Right, you can do their fun little games, or you can do this, you could do that. You get the viewing experience there. You could do the show match thing that they had before. I think they're all cool ways to have our viewership be more interactive and be entertained, and trying to keep them in places for a little bit longer. So
actually, one thing I do want to say about the Blast TV, that's the first time I kind of checked it out during the fall final, because I don't know if you've seen the player that they have and like their own basically streaming service that they have over there. It kind of works like Steam TV used to work, where you can like not just go through rounds, but you can see like highlights from the rounds.
Okay.
So there's going to be like, like if any co-win happens, that's going to be noted down there, and you can click on it and the round will play. Like if there's a multi-kill, it's going to note down like on the timeline, and you can click on it, and it will go back and basically do your replay, or like go back in the VOD and just like give you that highlight again. So there's like some pretty interactive stuff. It's not amazing at the moment, and from like the technical side, it's not like there's a lot of things that I just gave them in feedback that I would change about it for it to be a bit more user friendly, because it's kind of like it's a beta, like they just started it, so it's kind of understandable. But it is cool that they're trying something like this, trying to make something CSGO specific, to have, rather than just like the Twitch or YouTube streams.
Well, everyone's trying to crack the code here and work out how to keep the eyeballs for longer, or work out a way to monetize or whatever. And Blast is trying something a bit different in that regard, right? So it'll be interesting to see how that continues to expand. But let's look in on the event now. Striker, at the start of the show, I did call you the new #1 OG hater. You wrote an article earlier in the week, and it is titled "OG's World Final Qualification Exposes Major Flaws in Blast's Leaderboard." Now, anybody with a couple of brain cells mashed together knows that you're merely using OG as the example as to why the Blast World Finals system is bad, and not really offering us the best teams of the year, as opposed to you disliking OG.
Of course. I mean,
would you like to now defend yourself?
That's the thing, right? Like people will say that, okay, like you're your own OG hater and whatever like that, but it is like because of their case that it makes it so obvious that the system is just bad. It's just like because they literally got in essentially just through winning 2 Blast groups, which as literally everybody knows who like knows a little bit about Counter-Strike, those are nowhere near the most prestigious tournaments that we have all year long, but they are still considered by far like 2.5 times more important than majors in terms of the leaderboards. So like obviously if you do well only at the groups, that's going to give you a pretty big head start on the points if you want to qualify for the world final. And that's what happened with OG. The only 3 events that they got points from was the 2 Blast group wins, and then the world final, not the world final, the spring final where they made the semis. And those 3 events were enough for them to qualify for the world final, which is supposed to be, and I'm quoting Blast here, like where they crowned the ultimate champion of the year, which is obviously, if you brand it that way, you kind of expect the best teams there. And the way that the leaderboard was presented, like they're assigning points to all the events that happen in the year, at least the top ones. And so the best teams outside of the 5 or 6 that won the big tournaments of the year, the 2 ESL Pro Leagues, the 2 fall finals, the 2 finals of Blast, and 2 majors, were supposed to be at least close to the two best teams outside of that group, you know.
Yes.
But obviously that didn't happen. Like there's you can't make a case for OG being one of those teams, and you know, and that's what I'm trying to say. You know, that's just an example of why it is bad. And it's like it would be difficult to understand if I just presented you a bunch of numbers of like a hypothetical case rather than, you know, using something that actually happened, you know, that we see a result of happening now.
They do their own event a disservice with this system.
Exactly,
right?
yeah. I mean,
they could have had all the best teams. It could have the highest billing. Look, we're saying all this. You wrote that article. OG will probably win the whole event now, right? But
I was gonna say that, yeah.
but realistically, like if you had, I don't know, I'm sure we could put a whole bunch of names at the World Final.
Cloud9, I mean, that's the biggest example, right?
If Cloud9 was there instead of OG, and our opening game was Heroic versus Cloud9, and then you listen to this list of teams. If we just take out OG and add Cloud9, Heroic, Outsiders, FaZe, NAVI, Liquid, Vitality, G2, Cloud9.
Yeah.
Just put Cloud9 in there. It makes a bit of sense. You could even take G2 out and put someone else in, I'm sure. But, you know, G2 at least.
I would say Liquid probably achieved less during the year than G2 overall, but like, sure, like either way.
Make an argument for both of those, I'm sure. Yeah. But their name value. Now, look, I'm going to go on a bit of a tangent here, Kenny. I want to lob one your way, mate. So you were inside the partner situation, right? You were in G2, you were the ESL partners as well as Blast partners. So everything was coming your way when you were playing. Do you think that this system, now that you're outside of that and you look at it, do you think it's good for Counter-Strike? Do you think it's bad for Counter-Strike? What do you think?
2 years ago, I was super happy about it.
Yeah, right?
Now it's a bit more complicated, right?
It's fucking hard to play at the top now.
It is. But I don't know. Looking at the lineup of the teams in the final, in my opinion, it just makes sense. Even regarding OG, honestly, like they cannot consider other events than Blast. That is like too complicated for them to consider ESL events because they are not the same identity. You know, like so they have to consider only Blast event. And if OG perform really well in all Blast event this year, it makes sense that they are here. You know. But yeah, no, it's really difficult to say, you know, like because at the end of the day, when you look at the major, for example, it became more open for everyone, you know. So obviously, it's really much harder to participate in a Cologne event or a Blast World Final for a tier 2 team than it is for a tier 1 team during the season. But I've actually never really asked myself that question because I've always been in the right spot, you know.
Sure.
And nowadays I'm just like, I just need to grind from the bottom to the top. So I'm not asking myself those questions, to be honest. But yeah, might look like a bit imbalanced for everyone.
What if I put it this way, Kenny? What if I said to you that, like, with the way that the circuit was structured right now, that your team could never play a Blast event? Would that be fine? You just play everything else?
It depends how long I want to play.
Yeah, right. But like in the now, let's say the next year, you can't play a Blast event. Like that's,
I mean,
that's just the reality.
Like right now, so it's normal that we cannot play Blast event. But if we start performing well and consistently and grinding and climbing, at some point I might find this unfair. Yes.
Okay, because that like the question that I wanted to go with this was,
but give me an example of a team right now that you will actually see in Blast, not like Blast for final, but in Blast in general, that is not in Blast.
Cloud9, Outsiders.
Oh yeah, true.
Mouse.
Yeah.
Furia.
And there is no way for them to play Blast now.
No, they can qualify through the showdown, right? But the showdown now has been morphed into this fucked up, stupid regional. I don't know what the fuck.
It's one spot for NA, one spot for Europe, which is a bit rough at the moment.
Yeah, especially for the Europe side always, huh?
and then they bring in all the partner teams already to get a second chance to try and qualify, and it's a single elimination bracket. And to get there, like Snappy, he'll tell you, mate, he's got to do 333 different qualifiers just to get in towards the showdown.
I
to
did the count, by the way. I was looking through like some of the research that I did for this. Dance did 21 maps. Ants played 21 maps to get to the spring final this year.
21 maps just to get to the
just
spring
to
final.
get into the spring final. So the two qualifiers they played, plus the showdown, all those 3 stages, they played 21 maps just to get to the spring final.
Oh, Dinora. Yeah.
Okay,
So,
the system is not right. It's not
But-
right. The thing is, the condition for the players in Blast are really good though. And I don't see how you gonna come up to the organization and tell them that you want to change it. You know, considering the conditions are really good for them.
yeah. I've heard some stuff recently. Yeah, I won't get into that now. I don't like to
Like
talk.
when I first started working on Blast event, like that's already like a lot of financial things for the organizations, you know. So now that you give them that authority and you make them over everyone else, you cannot like work back from it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying. Yeah, look, I just want to offer this as an option for. I know what Striker's going to say, so I want to offer this one to you, Kenny. If there was, like, you know, we got the UFC, but we've also got Bellator. We've also got we've a whole bunch of different like mixed martial arts, like fighting. I forget the name organizations.
Yeah.
But if you're a fighter for the UFC, you can't go and fight over at Bellator unless like they come to some kind of agreement. So, like they're exclusive. If Blast was exclusive and it was just whatever 12 teams that they decided to play in their event, do we care? Is that okay? Like, this is the question I'm asking. Is it okay if we just have an event like that? If Blast whole event for the whole year, like, because right now they're trying to offer a couple spots.
That is like how it works on League of Legends, for example.
Yeah.
You know, and how do you how do you get access to those leagues? You need to pay.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah,
Well,
exactly.
I mean, it's not okay for the reason that like it shuts out other tournaments. You know, that's
if
that's
they
the
don't
problem.
present though, Striker, if they don't present right as we're open and other people can qualify and shit, and they just go closed and they just do it.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's not just worse. I mean, of course they present that they're open, but not.
But
I mean, they kind of are, but not, right?
But the reason I ask you this is because in the article that you wrote, right, there's a lot of
Right.
different comments, right? Some of them you shouldn't even bother reading. Some of them, like, people are like, yeah, of course it's like that. It's Blast event, right? There are other people who are like, nah, this fucking sucks, Blast event.
Yeah.
But the people who are just like, yeah, well, it's exclusive and we know it's exclusive and I'm okay with that because they give us a good product. Like, is that a fair thing for people?
I mean, it's not good for
not
good for
fair.
Counter Strike.
This is
It's
not-
not good
this
for
is not
Counter Strike
fair.
in terms of like, because you want the best teams to be playing, right? And we don't know who the best teams are if you don't let them play.
Yeah.
So like, if you only
Well,
have a certain
outside-
set of teams,
as you mentioned, outsiders should be there. They won the major.
Yeah.
like as a for example, you know, like obviously, like
But
consistently Blast.
it's not the fact that they're not there that is bothering. It's the fact that they don't have the opportunity to be there. You know, they don't.
Well,
have
they're lucky. Someone just said in chat, right? Because they won the major, they got there. But someone said in chat, C9 and Outsiders can't qualify to Showdown since CIS qualifier got cancelled after the war started.
Right, and they didn't get a invite, like the straight invite to the showdown either.
Yeah. So look, the only reason I bring this up, because we've had this conversation a million times, is just to start having the conversation, and probably for our viewers as well, right? If you're a viewer and you want to comment in the YouTube comments after this and let us know what you think, maybe there'll be a Reddit thread. Are you one of the people who's okay with it just being like, okay, they just put on their thing as long as it's quality content and it's teams I like and it's players I like, it's fine? Like, I'm just curious. I want to get people's feedback on this because it's something that I know what I think. I know what Striker thinks, right? I have a pretty good idea what Prof thinks. But you, the viewer, the people at home who are giving up your time and your attention and having the ads flashed in front of your face, essentially you're the ones who get to determine this. And if the consensus is over a larger body that you guys just want to watch that's up to you,
Well,
right?
Valve will have something to say about it.
True. But let's say there was just Blast exclusive and everything else was still open or semi-open, right? This is why I'm saying, like, there's room in our world for everything, I imagine. But anyway, you're right. Valve do have say. Let's talk about the Counter-Strike. Let's fuck this fucking business bullshit. Let's talk about what's going on over there at Blast. Now, we saw that Heroic are going to be operating at the event with config. Stavn is going to be sitting this one out. I think most people of us in the know understand why Stavn's taking the time off at the end of the year here. I'm sure people can go and find that information if they're looking for it. But having config come into play, after the whole config story earlier in the year. I guess this is fine for Heroic. They know that they're going to get him on best behavior. He's been saying he's reformed, right? If it comes in and it's shit, it's just like, well, we had a stand-in. If it comes in and config's good, it's like, yeah, well, we know config's fucking sick.
If he causes a ruckus with a broken foot,
there can't be any of that, right? Can't be any of that craziness. But this kind of does take away some of the shine for Heroic for me, because now they just get to go in and they just get to just pitch the ball as hard as they want. If it hits the target, great. If not, who gives a fuck? Like, they've just become the bogey team for the event, where they can do whatever they want. They can play whatever Counter-Strike they want. If they do well, oh, of course, Heroic are good. They play this style. They're a bunch of really good individuals. If they do badly, oh, they have a stand-in. They're going to get out of jail free card. And this kind of makes the whole event funky. It makes it a little bit strange, knowing that they are going to have this stand-in situation. So I don't expect anything of them. Do you have any expectations of them, Kenny? Do you think, okay, yeah, we're going to get the same Heroic, or you same as me? It's like stand-in, anything's possible.
Well, they will have a momentum, at least.
Okay.
From
The confidence?
The confidence, yeah, from the major and the blast event they won. And they will play without pressure. Confidence plus no pressure can be a good mix for them. So I would not say that they... It's really hard to predict that kind of things, you know. Like, this is really hard. But as you mentioned, like, if they fail, nobody will blame them for that. But in the other end, I don't see them being last, for example. You know what I'm saying? But obviously, Striker sees OG being last, but not necessarily last. But like, fighting for the... I would not be surprised if they're in semi-final, or like fighting for a trophy. You know,
crazy.
So. Yeah, I think that's the mix of no pressure, last event of the season. Stone has a big impact in the team, though. It's not gonna it's hard to forget. The config might have some pressure on himself, but the whole team won't. So yeah, either it's gonna be holidays for them, which is not impossible. Or they're gonna do something great. I don't see a middle ground where they just like do okay. You know, it's either they will be awful and enjoying the Abu Dhabi weather, or they're gonna do something good.
It's gonna be wild. What do you think, Strago?
Yeah, I mean, they basically, to get to the playoff, they just need to beat OG in the first round, and then they'll play let's say the second or third place teams in the other group in the quarterfinals, even if they lose to NAVI or Vitality in the other game in the groups. So like, semifinals are definitely not out of the question. They could beat like a Liquid with a stand-in, or even a G2. Like, why not? So like, it kind of depends on who goes on the other side. But it's still, like, I feel like, especially with how evenly spread Heroic have always been, and even stavn hasn't been like some big superstar for them. He is an important player. He is the most consistent player of them, I would say. But they do constantly have like different people stepping up. Literally all five. They just have that kind of a team, and we've seen Cadian even step up to that level. Where he can be like their best player in series. And things like that. So I think as long as they can find a way to fit config in, I think they're still going to be very dangerous. As long as config, it hasn't forgotten how to play Counter-Strike in the couple of months that we haven't seen him play. I don't know how much he's affected. I haven't really seen him so much, but I expect him to be at least on a decent level.
Well, with all the stuff he's tweeting, I'm sure that he's been putting in the hours. Now, there's one factor here, and I don't know how much this will affect a team like Heroic, but it will definitely affect other teams in the tournament and their map pools, is the fact we're going into this event with Anubis. Kenny, you been playing much Anubis, mate?
What? Anubis? Yeah, I played it. In
what do you think?
It's sick. I love
it. You like it?
Yeah. It's like, for an AWPer, it's pretty good because the city rotation are really, really fast, So I like it. I really like it. I like all the new maps. I like Ancient as well a lot. I think this is good.
Vertigo.
Vertigo. I don't dislike necessarily Vertigo, but I would like a Cobblestone or just two more than Vertigo. Not gonna lie.
Okay. Still got the soft spot for Cobblestone.
But Anubis is really promising in my opinion. I don't know what you guys think about it, but I
love it.
I enjoy the map a lot. It's and it's pretty new as well. It's pretty new regarding the aspect of the map who is built.
The thing that I wanted to check today how many, because I just play matchmaking till 4 o'clock in the morning because I'm a degenerate human being, but I've been playing a shitload of it like lately. I think, where is it here? this my numbers? This can't be my numbers. Oh, that's ancient. Anubis, I played it 63 times this month.
Whoa.
I've just been, because the thing is,
60 times. Holy
yeah.
shit.
Well, the thing is, because when I do my job, Kenny, I don't want to be a fucking noob. I want to make sure that I at least have some play time, or, you know, like if a pro is like, you're fucking shit, Sponge, at least I can go in an aim map against them and get 1 kill out of 10, you know, something like that, right? I don't want to be dog shit. And when I talk about a new map, especially as a color commentator, I want to make sure that I can at least speak to some of the things. So I'm trying to get a lot of play time on it. I'm even learning 64 tick spawn smokes so that I can fucking replicate ideas of things that I think that teams might actually try. So I've been putting a lot of time into it. I fucking love it. I love that there's so many cool dynamics on the map that I think teams are going to be able to play with. And I have no idea what the meta is going to look like, right? You can have you expect a few things and you think it'll play out like this, but you never know. So is it a map that you guys are going to look to play? Is it a map that is going to be in the arsenal for the Falcons?
That's a tricky question.
You don't have to give away the secrets. It's all right.
I'm gonna keep the secret.
All right.
We played 7 maps, all the maps.
All right, fair enough. I like you got to run with that one. Fair enough. But we know you like it, and you know and you said you feel like it's a good map for AWPers.
I've started 1 matchmaking and I've played 3, so it means I like it.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
No, I think it's gonna be a great open map. I don't see it's just like the aggressive perspective of it on city side, for example. I don't really see it yet because I maybe didn't push it too far. But for sure, like just the system of rotation is really advantageous for an AWPer. The pace change also for T sides can be really interesting. You know, you can change the pace around to another. Which means that it's a good map, you know. That's, for example, a big flaw of Vertigo. Obviously, the pace will change, but the pace will change only on 1 segment of the map, which is A. Either you wait for the smokes or you go before the smokes. So that is why Vertigo is known as a non-interesting map theoretically, like strategy-wise. But Anubis, like, it seems really interesting. The mid part is really interesting. The river part is interesting. The sites are built pretty nicely, in my opinion. So yeah, it's funny because I don't see it as a map that needs a lot of change. You know?
Yeah,
And
because it's already gone under some change.
And
they
it's a new map,
changed it a bit. Yeah. Well, the thing with it was because when it came through map core, right? It came through like a map core competition, and they changed it a bunch there. Were we talking about this on the episode I came on Strike? I think we were. But they have like some change logs and stuff on the Steam page to do with it. But I guess just to drill us back into the conversation now about Blast is teams. HLTV did an article about this as well, about the winners and losers of this Anubis change, right? So we know that Heroic have it as a perma ban, right? Dust 2, so they can just afford to not play Anubis at this event, or they could do it. Right? We've got outsiders who have to practice it, FaZe who have to practice it, NAVI who have to practice it, G2, yeah, Liquid,
too.
yeah. So everybody besides Heroic have to play it.
We will see.
Like there's a very high chance that we will see it. Yeah.
So when we
I'm not even sure if it's ever happened that we had like got a new map in and it's never been like it wasn't played at least once at the next tournament. You know.
Yeah.
Pretty sure we've always seen it every time.
Well, I think we are going to see it. I think we are going to see it just based off a couple. Even maybe it'll be a 3rd map decider, or maybe someone will think they're hot shit at it and try and pull it out early.
Somebody will just pull it out like as a pick, you know, just one of the like OG, let's say, like because they have to take. Well, maybe not OG because they're going to play Heroic first, but whatever second match they will play, you know.
Yeah. So I think that's a factor that we can't possibly know how that's going to unfold, which is obviously going to skew a lot of the results here. So I suppose one thing we could do, because we spoke about Heroic here, then with the stand-in factor, I think everyone's expectations of OG are very low, but as I said, they probably win the event because of that. So those two we can kind of like pigeonhole away. But then when you look at the rest of the field, you've got Outsiders and FaZe, the 2 major winners of the year. You've got G2 who needs something good going their way. You've got Liquid who are just still in they're in the sweet spot. Liquid are in the sweet spot. They haven't hit the danger zone just yet in a good way. They're just in this sweet spot of when they can flourish into this beautiful butterfly and will love it. You've got NAVI who are doing this 6-man experiment, and then you've got Vitality who are probably in that similar sweet spot, I would say, as Liquid. But when we look at all of these teams coming into this event, is there a clear favorite? Right? It's so hard to pick because everybody kind of has something different that they're playing for. FaZe can, go, okay, we win this event. There's no question it was our year, right? Because if they don't win this event here, they've only been good for 6 months. Well, they've only been winning for 6 months.
Yeah.
Right? So this would be good for FaZe for that, to go into the break with a win under their belt. For G2, they would love to show something that's just positive Counter-Strike here.
But they play FaZe first, right?
Yeah.
G2. They always beat FaZe.
But that is a good matchup for them indeed. Yeah.
Yeah. They
So
always
that
beat
could be
FaZe.
curious.
Like there's been G2 have taken off some series
Does
off
that
FaZe
count for
even
the
in there.
Confirm? No, it doesn't, huh?
No.
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 Only ESL events.
So
So
Katowice is going to be the next chance.
yeah, which is still a good shot for them there. They get to defend their title. It'd be curious to see Outsiders. I think Outsiders out of all the teams would be the one to pick Anubis. Like, just go, yeah, fuck it, and just pick Anubis against anybody because like they were really good at Dust 2. Like, well, I like their approach to Dust 2. I like the way that they and for them to have that, they could put a lot of fear in teams if you go up against Liquid and you just fucking pick it first round and you body them or something. It's just such an unknown, man. Like, I don't know. There's
FaZe are the type of a team who would almost do that. But then again, they also started practicing Vertigo. So FaZe is the one that I'm interested about in terms of Anubis, because they are the team who could technically just ban it, because they, leading up to the major, they were practicing Vertigo. They were confident enough to let it through against BNE. Obviously it didn't work out very well for them, but they did deliberately play Vertigo at that point. So I'm curious about if they'll just start banning Anubis here just to make sure that they are good on the maps that they're good on, and just use it to their advantage, basically.
Yeah. I'm having a hard time pinning down like a conversation point or a topic here for us to drill into to look at this event, right? Because it all feels very floaty, and that's
there's
kind
a lot
where,
of small storylines. That's the thing. Like, one thing that we haven't even touched on is that we'll also see the M4s and the AWP change, which is also something that will definitely have an effect on the meta. Like, we've already seen a lot of players.
The M4 hasn't changed at all.
Do you think so?
No,
There's been a
with
lot
the
of players
A1S?
who said that it has.
I don't know what you guys think, but I was happy. I was like, M4, A4, go back to it and stuff. But no, I went back to the A1S straight away. Like the nerf is not significant enough in my opinion.
Okay.
The thing is, I've seen opinions from pros from all kinds of angles. People say, "Oh, the silencer is dog shit now." And then
I just think that people were at some point really happy to get the A4 back at some point, and that created an hype. But if you want to look at it in an efficient way, I still think the A1 barely got changed.
How's it been in practice? Like, the feeling about how much people have been using A4 versus A1S.
And the price, yeah. I mean, the fact that the A4 is 3K1 is making a big change.
Okay.
It's making a big change. So I think there's a lot of.
Have you noticed the difference in when you play practice games?
Money-wise, yes. Money-wise, yes.
No. But I mean, how much teams actually play
the
A4?
A lot of people stick to the A1S.
Okay.
Yeah. I imagine for you as the AWPer as well, to have the A1 means that you're saving a couple of pennies here and there when dropping guns and that kind of shit. I even notice I put the A4 on. You get around, you can't get the cheap M4 in head armor, right? You can't have an early crazy bogey M4 in play with the A1, right? You're gonna have to drop it to someone, or you're gonna be missing a couple of pieces of utility or whatever. So I think the economy impact is really quite big. And because of the drop off in a lot of the fights, I know someone showed the ranges in a lot of those fights there. Players are probably already taking a bit of chip damage from utility or something like that. So maybe the fights aren't as skewed, but it is going to be interesting to see, because I noticed when I started using the A4 again that I would quick change the weight of my pistol after 22 or 23 bullets, and I still had fucking 7 bullets. So it's going to be interesting to see what players do, how they kind of size that up. But I think that
I can bet that most of the players will keep using the A1S.
What do you think? 70-30, 80-20,
80-90.
Really? That high?
Yeah, I think just a few players will change.
Okay.
But just money-wise, it's big of a difference.
Yeah.
For the money system, for your one team, it's complicated to change it entirely.
Yeah, that's true too, because it would almost change the approach of the CT side if everybody had changed to that
Yep.
A4, and your buying patterns would be a bit more old school. You wouldn't be able to have as many force buys or as many limp ins with like an upgraded pistol or whatever. So those flow-on effects will definitely be felt. But yeah, look, that's one of the storylines. Anubis is another one of the storylines. The
Navi.
heroic one, they're all glaring. Everything else is like up in
I
the
think the
air
Navi one is the one that's like the most interesting outside of the rest
with
because of
MPL.
because like how many maps is he gonna play? What maps is he gonna play?
Anubis.
That's kind of like, but I don't think that they'll do that just for the reason that like it's a new map, like it's you can't evaluate a player based on an entirely new map, like how he's gonna play there. Like he'll probably play something that Navi is like decent at and are gonna play like a reasonable amount, but otherwise this experiment doesn't make any sense. They'll
Sure.
have to put him in at, I don't know how many maps is going to be. Like with Bit, there was just one at first. Maybe they're going to do exactly the same. Maybe it's going to be like Inferno. That they play a
I think
reasonable amount.
in terms of preparation and that kind of things, it's really complicated to do more than one in the first place.
Yeah. I mean, sure, of course. Like, I mean, that's kind of what I'm expecting, but who knows? Like, maybe he's just gonna he's playing half of the map pool, and as the is playing the other half. Like, that's what I'm curious about now. Like, how much is he gonna play and what map specifically? But I would imagine it's something that is relatively a comfort pick for Navi, so that's they can give him some space to actually show himself, and not like put him in an Anubis or something that they don't really play so much.
Yeah, look, I think this is why this tournament, right? What we would want it to be is the culmination of the year and the best teams in the world going toe to toe to walk away as the top dog of the year. We're going to the break like holding that belt and being like, yeah, I beat all the other best teams of the year. But everybody has something different to play for here. Outsiders now get an opportunity to go up against some of the bigger names we wish they did at the major, right? It's only a fucking stack.
It's really hard to win a tournament after the major. It's really, really hard.
Well, they've had a bit of downtime. Do you think that helps them or do you think it hurts them, Kenny?
That's I honestly feel like it's like you work the whole year for the major, you win the major, and you have one tournament afterwards before the holidays. I I'm not in the head, but I don't think it's the best way to approach it.
Okay. Do you think, because I know what you're saying, right? In the sense of you already hit Mount Everest. Now you're just getting home. But do you think the fact that there's questions around their major win, right? The broader community, or at least a couple of people in the forums, maybe we'll just go there. They're like, oh well, they didn't play against this team or this team or this team, right? They didn't play.
They are the current best team in the world.
Yeah.
It is what it is. They can lose Blast. They will still be the best team in the world, in my opinion.
Okay.
But yeah, I get what you mean, and there is still ambition to have for that tournament for them, such as finishing the year as the best team in the world. But like it's a normal thing. I mean, FaZe didn't do it. For example, FaZe won Cologne after the major, which is great achievement, honestly. But it's almost a normal feeling, a natural thing to do as a human being, to just like raise your foot a little bit, after such a big achievement.
So let me put it this way: out of all the teams we have there, Kenny, out of Outsiders, Liquid, FaZe, G2, Heroic, OG, Navi, and Vitality, which one of those teams do you think the win is the most important for?
Let me get the teams in front
I
of
can
my
give you the
face.
one.
Who are you going to say, Striker?
Yeah,
G2.
G2, yeah.
Because they haven't won anything in so
Yeah,
long.
true,
It is
true.
the most important to them. Like it would mean the most thing to them.
So I guess the ones that means the least will be a team like, I mean, Liquid Outsiders. Liquid is still in the process of, like, as you said, like getting bigger and better.
Sure.
We're not expecting them to win. I mean, Outsiders from the major, so people won't be too harsh on them. Heroic just have a stand-in, so as you said, they won't be too harsh. People expect OG to lose because strikers say so. But then, yeah, I mean, FaZe, Navi, Vitality, G2 are the ones with the biggest pressure. I mean, Navi. There is, people think that there is something to change about them anyway. So expectation about Navi are lower than they were like a few months ago anyway. But FaZe is having a lot of up and down, so they will be harshly judged. But yeah, I think G2 and Vitality are the two teams that are are the most like sensitive to change if they can't perform at these tournaments.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of disagree with the outsiders point. I think there's a lot of pressure on them to
Beat the good
prove
teams. Beat the
prove that.
good teams.
Well, yeah, but to
But they
prove
beat the good
that.
teams. They beat the good teams in Rio.
I know,
Well, that's the thing.
but
Like, but they
people
didn't
at home
beat.
don't
They
think
didn't
they
beat
did.
that many good teams, in Rio. That's the problem. Like, people. The reason I say why there's a lot of pressure on outsiders is if they bomb out of the world final, people will say,
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
the major was a fluke. Like same with Gambit. As we saw before. Like, it's just such a big upset major. It doesn't really mean anything. So that's why I think outsiders need to do well here. At least maybe make it to the final, or at least semis, and then give whoever
I
wins the
think
run.
they will go semi-final with just confidence. Like they don't need it's I think they will be in a good dynamic anyway. Like
Yeah.
it's all about the dynamic you go into the tournament anyway.
Yeah.
That is what making the difference at the end, especially when it's so stacked like that. But yeah, I think they will just manage to lay on what on the hype they've been having and building for themselves. So I would not be. I don't see them fail, But what I'm saying is that if they do, it's not a big deal compared to G2 or Vitality. Expectations are much bigger, in my opinion, on those teams because at the end of the day, outsiders like climbed up the whole year. They've done a decent year overall. Obviously, you expect better considering the Avenger and Virtus Pro they've had, but they've done good. Vitality and G2, they struggled to result. They struggled to have result. Okay, Vitality won the EPL, but like Zaiwu did the tournament of his life. And as much as I think Zaiwu is can produce amazing performances, it's really hard to reproduce a 1.45 rating, and I don't think it's a good thing to think like that anyway. And I just think that there might be an issue in the identity of those teams, like deep issues. Those are the teams that I might see deep issues from the outside,
Okay. So, we're talking about the teams we've spoken about the teams who we think are going to have a rougher go of things. Who do we think is going to win the whole thing? Right? Who do? Because
okay, the bold call, the random call I will make is Vitality. I don't know why.
Okay, so
which
Spinks activates, the team gets their shit together.
Which sounds really like weird from what I said. I don't really believe in that, but that would be my bold pick, But other than that, I would say it's tough. It's really tough. It's really tough. I would go with outsiders. Obviously, one of the favorites has to be one of the favorites. I had that. It's like the major, like the major
It's
was
hard, man.
It was
Not easy.
impossible to predict. The major was impossible to predict, and I still think I still think the same about this one. I mean, Liquid's doing good. Liquid can win. Outsiders can win. You never know with FaZe if they step up and hit their shots. NAVI, you can never bury NAVI anyway. Like NAVI can always step up from the ashes. And as much as I want to believe in G2, it's second place at best for G2 anyway.
The silverware's still in the fucking cabinet, mate.
No, that's really hard.
Yeah.
What would you say? I mean,
To win the whole thing?
Yeah.
I think I would just say FaZe.
I was gonna say FaZe as well.
That's a
yeah.
safe pick.
That is a very safe pick for sure.
And Striker normally gives the safest picks. So the fact that he's calling it a safe pick, it's fucking real safe. I never usually go that safe. I don't know. I think like for FaZe, I don't think they feel like they've done enough in the second half, probably inside the team. I think they probably feel like they need to do a bit more. Navi, I can explain away because of the MPL 6-man war situation.
Yeah.
OG's not in the conversation for me. As I said,
let's do kind of like a power ranking for this. So do we do phase 1 outsiders 2?
Maybe Navi.
We already struggling to predict the winner. Now you want us to predict the second, the third, and fourth?
Let's just do like a power
No, I
ranking.
like
for
it. I
this.
like it.
Let's see.
Phase
if
number
we can
1.
do it.
Liquid
Phase
number,
1, outsiders 2.
Liquid number 2.
Liquid number 2.
Yeah,
But you said outsiders 1 though, right?
Yeah, I said that. Outside
Okay,
of number
so
one,
you have a
liquid
different
number
one. Fair
two.
enough.
Okay, so his
Okay.
power rank is different to ours.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
of course.
Go
What
ahead.
else you
Go
got?
ahead.
Okay, so outsiders number one, liquid number two. Number 3 and 4 will be Vitality and Nav and G2. Let's go G2.
Okay.
Let's go G2. And then you get
Where's
Heroic
FaZe,
Navi.
mate?
Where is FaZe? Jesus Christ, that's too difficult. That's too difficult. Okay, take out. Okay, outsiders, liquid. Okay, no liquid. Outsiders.
Okay.
Outsiders. Outsiders. Let's start yourself. Let me think about it.
Okay.
So I
So we
think
said FaZe
Counter-Strike are gonna be
number
pretty
one,
that is the
two
hardest question you
outsiders.
gave me today. I swear to God, that's
I
literally.
think
the hardest.
three. I would go.
I would still go
But,
probably Navi,
really?
even with the 6-man.
Okay.
You're not taking any risk, guys. Take some
No,
risk.
no, but that's because the thing is, like,
Like we want to be like fair so that people know what to kind of expect, but it's really hard.
FaZe outsiders Navi, I think then probably you'd have to say Vitality.
Vitality, then Heroic, P2, and
Do you even put Heroic in?
Fuck.
Do the Heroic even get a mention? Like they have a stand-in. How do we put him in there? They,
I would
they
still
could
put
be
them, like-
first or last.
yeah.
Yeah, he
I
would.
would still put them past OG, to be fair. Like
Okay. Yeah, well, that's fine. But FaZe, but I'm putting them in their own category. FaZe outsiders, Navi. You should put Vitality ahead of Liquid or Liquid ahead of Vitality.
I think Vitality had.
Vitality, Liquid 5, G2 6, and then Heroic and OG 7 and 8. But Heroic could literally be first or
Yeah,
last.
they were.
I don't know. That's.
Yeah, I don't know
that-
about first, but I think that they're going to be competitive.
But yeah, like I think that this is so hard to call. Everybody knows where the
Okay,
teams are at.
Then,
Here we go.
then outsiders, liquid phase Navi,
Mhm.
Vitality, G2, heroic OG.
Okay, so
Okay,
fairly
so
similar.
G2 are fucked. They need a new in-game leader. JKS needs to go back to Australia. It's all over for them. They had a good 6 months. Their run was bloody
No,
beautiful.
they need to keep going.
They need to persevere. They can do it.
They need to be positive.
It all comes down to mindset.
That's the thing. It's once again like
Please, now all the people that
I know. Like I've done a lot of tournaments, and I've been shit for. I had teams where we've been shit for 3 months, and suddenly we make a final because we play out of our minds and we have the right dynamism into the tournament, and that's the kind of thing you cannot like really predict from those teams, So that's exactly why I like to think about the upsets, but yeah, if you play it safe, I think outsiders face Navi, it's safe picks,
Yeah, because the thing is, just for people at home who maybe aren't too familiar, the format is going to be 2 GSL groups of 8. Sorry,
4.
Groups of 4. With the top team in each group skipping to the semifinals, and then the second and third place teams from each respective group getting placed into the bracket in the quarterfinals on opposite sides if they're from the same group. I think that makes sense. I think you guys can all check that out, HLTV anyway. This event is running from the 14th to the 18th. The opening games, so the Europeans, we're going to have to get used to being up nice and early. Outsiders versus Liquid in the opening round of Group A is at 7
How the
a.m.
fuck are you going to watch? Didn't you say you were like staying up until 4 a.m.?
Yeah, well, I guess I just won't
I just
sleep.
don't sleep.
I do have to go to Australia in a couple of days' time anyway.
shit.
So there'll be a
Jesus
bit of
Christ.
overlap with that and travel and everything. So I'm going to be flying past. I'm going through Qatar to
Ah.
get back to Perth. So, I
Okay.
can give them a wave on the way over
Abu
there.
Dhabi is not Qatar.
Yeah, but they're
That
next
is
door,
close.
right?
They
They're
are
pretty
next
close.
door,
I just
yeah,
say
they're
hello
really
and then
close.
keep
Yeah,
going and
that's
fucking- I don't think I have a long layover.
That's just me showing off my geography culture,
You smashed, yeah.
Apology.
We're both south of where we are right now. Anyway, long story short, $1 million on the line and the last tier 1 tournament of 2022. So that's about it. It's hard for us to pick a winner. Everyone knows what the storylines are going to be. Everyone's going to be tuning in and watching the games. The grand final, I suppose, is the most important. Everyone needs to make sure that they have the time to watch that, and that will be at 11 a.m. on Sunday. So
That's a
not
good
bad
time.
Yeah, it's
That's
a pretty
a
good
good time.
time. Yeah. All
Don't
right.
go out, don't get wasted, and that's all.
Or you can have a hangover on the couch on the Sunday you know, and watch the game. So that could work too.
Yeah.
I think we're good, boys. Anyone else have anything they want to say about Blast? About Abu Dhabi? The World Finals?
All
No?
good.
Watch the show match. I'm playing it.
There you go. That'll be before 11 a.m.
Holy shit.
The local time
Nobody
is
was
like,
gonna watch.
like 3 hours ahead.
Watch the highlight anyway.
There you go. See if there's some classic Kenny moments in there. I'm just quickly scrolling through the questions we had from the viewers here to see if there's any good ones to ask you, Kenny, before we let you go. Here we go. Here's one from Jesse. He wants to know which AWP player has been the hardest to play against for you as an AWPer.
The one I didn't know back then. Like the one I was used to play against, like Fowler and Guard and stuff, I was comfortable. But when I was ending up with like newcomers or other kind of things, it was difficult, you know. Not GW, no, not Guardian. Maybe Device because it was playing for Australis. And
Sure, yeah.
beating Australis at some point was really difficult. And it's really hard to remove him from his comfort zone. You know, like he's really passive as well. When you decide you don't necessarily want to pick a guy that doesn't really necessarily takes risk. You know.
Sure. He's just holding the angle.
Yeah.
Not moving. All right. Here's a good one for you, Kenny. Who wins the World Cup, Morocco or Argentina?
Argentina.
Oh, okay. I was.
No, I called Argentina before the World Cup anyway.
All right.
So I'm sticking to it.
All right.
Even though France is going to final and is going to lose to Argentina.
All right. Well, you beat England on the way, so that's the most important.
Yeah, that's
part.
the most important. Spain, England don't win. Most important.
Big W's.
England remains in one of the worst nations of football.
It's crazy how many people have animosity towards UK football fans, and it's crazy.
Well, I think it's just towards UK in general.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. All right, Kenny. Well, we're going to shut it down for this evening. Is there anything you want to say to everybody at home?
Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for supporting. Really, it means a lot. We tend us players to stay and read the haters and get hurt by those, but there was so much more people supporting me and throughout my time on the bench wanting me to come back, and that I can be in chair 1000 or chair 1, always hyped to see me play. So that's a big love for me. Thank you very much for that. It means a lot. Thank you HLTV for everything you've been doing for CS. Thank you you guys for what you're doing for CS in general, and thank you for inviting me and having me tonight. Hope I was a good guest.
Awesome. Thank you, Kenny, for coming on and having a bit of a chit chat with us here, filling in for Prof. You did a great job. You weren't even really a guest. You were just the third man on the show. This has been great. Okay, Striker, I don't think we have another show in the books just yet. I assume it'll be after Blast. I'll be doing it in some weird time from Australia next week. But thanks again to everybody playing at home. Thanks again to everybody for tuning in. Thanks to Xtrfy, Bitskins, and of course, M1Bet. Gamble responsibly. And this has been another... And Lucas. Of course, Aww. Lucas. We can never forget about Lucas. And yeah, guys, have a good one. We'll see you on the next episode of HLTV Confirmed. Enjoy the Blast World Finals. Good night.
Add some fun to your space with Xtrfy, designed in Sweden with focus on quality products built on experience. You're looking at Project 4, their 4th generation of products with super cool colorways to stand out, with matching sets to satisfy with a solid B4 bungee, lightweight ergonomic M4 mouse, the K4 keyboard is fantastic, all of which are performance focused, and finish it off with colorful GP4 mouse mats that are bold in design and smooth on the surface. The retro theme in particular has got the feels. Complete your setup with Xtrfy. No regrets, guaranteed.
Finally, I found what I was looking for. Now that my search is over, it's gonna be a tough choice. But fortunately, no need to choose. when you can just have them all. Buy and sell skins on Bitskins.com.
N1Bet. Your bet, your game.